Good morning.
Again, I talked about it.
It's one of those days, you know.
Boy, these things disrupt my life. Okay. Green light.
Morning, man. I'm doing just fine. So explain to me the differences in the levels with 8x8.
X1 is entry level, doesn't do any faxing, it's basically just, it does allow you the hard phone and software. Doesn't have fax. I think the SMS is limited. X2 does include fax, full SMS. X4 is administrator level.
Oh, okay.
So for most people, all we really use is 1 and 2.
Okay.
So I wanted to get Susan's phone, so
Some of the things you talked about.
at my email.
I gotta be able to send a Zoom meeting to you.
Did you send me an invite?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Would y'all do black me out yesterday? Did y'all black me out yesterday?
No, we had a whiteboard up here.
Oh.
Using that for that.
Truck driving school.
Well, maybe
You still
y'all
that truck driving school,
got
right?
away
You got
with
the
me
number?
yesterday. Yesterday. Weird.
Can't figure it out.
Yes, sir.
That's right.
This guy was a very good friend of mine.
If you got the glasses.
Got GPT.
Got GPT. Civics man.
Really will do a lot of stuff. It's not all of it true, but a lot of it is true.
Mary's my best friend that died about 38.
On the Zoom link.
So. It's kind of strange yesterday. But making my matching.
Did I mention that Judge Bassett passed away?
Yes, you did. Yeah, Josh is supposed to send me the. Oh, stay over here.
Services are 2:30 at Holly Springs Baptist Church on Saturday.
Saturday, yeah.
2:30. They originally said it at like 11, but they had to move it, I think. And then I think they're gonna have another service. They're gonna use it farm after that.
Who's that for?
Judge Bass.
I just want to see.
He,
Oh, we got swore you.
hmm?
We got it swore you in.
So I'll give it out.
As soon as that happens, it should just log you in, it'll be in the meeting. Well, I have to, I'll see it pop up like this morning, trying to get in and I.
Well, there it goes.
Y'all can turn it on. I may echo a little bit.
Yeah.
Those were sent to you just in case you didn't have.
Oh, no, I brought my. Devices today.
They wanted me to bring the pink ones to you.
Yes. You guys just want first one.
Absolutely.
Warner. Yeah, you're from Boston. Yeah.
What's on schedule?
It's about the same as the last two.
Here.
Did you give us, you guys a schedule before?
That's, I didn't send you that right there. I need that back. When we get a chance.
Oh, Jackie Rice was doing that numbers today.
So. Did you hear about the water bill?
Judge Reese,
Yes,
It's not gonna affect
I
us.
guess I better let you do this.
They explained it. But we do have to.
Recording in progress.
Yeah, so there's a couple of years.
So the constables are out today though. We have a.
that was yesterday.
So. Oh, they just came early. Yesterday. You got constables on here.
That's just a.
So this will be moved up. Oh, it is, isn't it? No? Okay, I got you. I'm sorry. Here, hold it back. Thank you for keeping me straight. It's a bigger job than you first signed on for.
Tuesday.
Your phone down on.
Clicked.
All right.
It's been.
Should. Where's the 11:23? There it is.
All right. We are now at, it's 9:04. We are now starting our budget workshop for today. And our first contestant is Judge Chris Martin with District Court.
Morning.
Good morning, sir.
Well, if I'm a contestant, I hope the price is right for you today. So as you can see, what I have submitted, my proposed budget, on the individual line items, made some adjustments, mostly down in each line item, excluding the, personnel cost. I think, Commissioner Curtis, you had, I think I watched, one of the workshops the other day, and you had a good question about why do some of our budgeted amounts appear to be not inflated, I don't think that was the word, but kind of budget heavy or whatever. And as you look through mine, you might see some of those things such as office supplies and things of that nature, where the actual, percentage in 2024, where we're at now, is not quite where it was. I think you made a good point in asking that question.
No, quit. Was that you?
No, it was you. It was you.
Okay.
Yeah. And so,
Okay.
so like in our office supplies, where it's our year to date is less than 1,000. Obviously, we're not through the year, but we're going to have some expenditures for like our reset forms that come in like duplicate or triplicate form, and those things cost several $1,000s. We've ordered about 1,000 of them, and so that they're not always hitting in the early part of the year, so they're not a monthly expense. But I thought it was a good point that you made, and so as you look through here, some of our trainings we don't get to go to until later in the year in the summer. So we're still expending those funds, but we do try to budget to where we're not having to come back to commissioners court. I think y'all had a conversation about whether it was difficult to come back and ask for more money if it was a big process. And so, and it is, you don't want to have to do that. You want to be able to budget to where you think you're actually not going to have to come back to the commissioners court for. Otherwise, it looks like you are not meeting your budget. So if you budget so thin, it's better, I think it's better to budget a little bit higher and then end up under budget than to budget right on the line and then have an unforeseen expense or expenditure that puts you over, and you have to come back to commissioner's court for that, but. I made some individual adjustments there. I tried to put them in red if it was a reduction for you, blue, staying the same, no increases in the other items. So those are. Answer any questions on those that y'all have, and then we can talk about the personnel costs where there would be some increases.
How much of your indigent legal aid is on hourly basis as opposed to a set fee? I'm considering upping.
Very, very small. What I'm spending hourly now is, as the court will recall, we entered into indigent defense contracts with 2 attorneys. And
Mhm.
they cover like 98%, so I'm gonna say less than 2% is on an hourly, and that 2% arises whenever my 2 contract attorneys are conflicted out for a case. Such as if there's 3 people arrested, 1 attorney gets 1 guy, 1 attorney gets the girl, and if we have a 3rd person that was involved, there might be a conflict of interest representing the rights of the first 2 appointed. So in those instances, I have to go out and find another attorney in my indigent appointment list.
Mhm.
Will, if you will, is very, very small, which is what got us to the contract system in the first place. Those are the ones that I'm spending hourly. I'm usually having to call attorneys and ask them if they'd be willing to take it. And a lot of times they do it as a favor to the court because it's sporadic. So I would say 2%.
Okay,
That's just,
okay,
that's a very conservative estimate. I say 2%.
okay. Very good.
If it's even that high. And so, in indigent legal aid, I knocked off 12.5 there. That's even taking into account that my current contracts are going to be renegotiated, I believe, in May of next year. So halfway through the budget year next year, that still takes into if I give them a 3%, 4%, or 5% increase on the indigent defense contract, I can still absorb that with that amount. And then I try to leave, I estimated leaves about 50,000 to 60,000
Mhm.
left over in case there's variables that I can't take into account, such as how many indictments are going to be returned.
Mhm.
Are we going to catch a capital murder? If you catch a capital murder, my defense contracts don't cover that. I have to go out and find somebody
Mhm.
and pay them probably, $125, $150 an hour, which is a really reduced rate, even at that amount. But
For a capital.
for a capital case, and so. In that situation, I'm trying to leave 50,000 or so, and there's also some other indigent, I think, indigent legal aid, that's gonna be where you have individuals who are getting motions to for contempt for failure to pay child support if they're indigent.
Mhm.
The mother or father is looking to put someone in jail, so they have a 6th Amendment right to counsel. That's what that 2,500, that's why you don't see those 2 combined, because it's civil versus criminal. But
Okay,
even reducing that, I think I can still increase the contracting amounts if I need to stay in the market.
mhm.
And I can also have an additional $50,000 to cover these hourly rates if I have to pay any.
Mhm.
And
Okay.
also adjust for the variables of how many indictments could return, what kind of cases would catch.
So you don't have anything in there for relocating if the ceiling gets wet again?
I do not. I figured that's y'all's problem. I figured you are gonna put that in your budget.
Okay. Any questions about these line items? If not, we'll go to the personnel.
Before we do that, just real quick, in listening to, Mr. Slayton's budget workshop, I messaged him on this the other day. I was gonna talk about and ask about getting some hotspots. I think, Ms. Strickland was getting hotspots or requesting hotspots for election things. We were gonna also request some hotspots, for our work at the jail. We send our staff out to the jail to do jail dockets, because we have a very difficult time getting on the network out there, which is unreliable. But in talking with Scott, it seems that he's trying to address that issue, special networks, but it's not gonna be asking for that if that's the case.
I think as a backup, we might, maybe think about getting a fund for padding. County fund, and then that, you could use that as a hotspot if the other available.
Well, that gives us two, because we use Sergeant Martinez's phone right now for Patty. But my indigent defense attorney, Mr. Manning, doesn't have a hotspot, and so when they both get on that one hotspot, it's divided and it kind of shuts them both down. So yeah, if it's just an additional phone for now, and then until you get the special network, that would be great. Great, so. Okay, so personnel, so if you look at the other page, notes 1, 2, and 3. I think the consensus I've heard in the other meetings is that the Commissioners Court is looking at maybe 3% raises, somewhere around there.
We did a presentation 3 to 5, 3, 4, and 5%.
Okay,
And we have, you know, we'll, once we get everything consolidated, once we know what our revenues are gonna be, then we will make that determination.
okay. I would respectfully request 5%. If you're aware, maybe you're not aware, but the past commissioner courts have made considerable strides in trying to get our staff salaries back to competitive salaries compared to counties that are close to the same size to us. There's been studies. We paid tens of thousands of dollars several years ago, probably more than a decade now. Paid, I don't know, so we paid about $20,000-$30,000 for that salary study.
Oh, yeah.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah,
I mean,
long time ago, but it
we
was.
paid tens of thousands of dollars, and it showed that we were way behind on the salaries for comparable positions in other counties.
How come me and the judge didn't get that when we did it? How come me and the judge didn't get that money when we did it?
Did what?
We did salary survey.
You did. One, you didn't go to commissioner court and get approved, I guess. Two, you didn't submit an invoice.
Okay.
But anyway, the court said they decided, once they saw that data, they realized how far behind we were as a county and that we were losing talent. We saw this in the sheriff's office, you know, most recently with the constant turnover and,
Mhm.
you know, going to other counties. But the commissioner courts have passed, made a commitment to trying to close that gap. And they started doing that by giving as much as they could each year, up to about 5%. Sometimes there were years we didn't get anything. Sometimes there were years that we were furloughing people because we didn't have the budget to do it. But once we kind of got back to the black and we could make a dent in that, the previous commissioner courts made that commitment to do that. And I think we're still not up to market level on most of our staff positions. So the reason I'm asking for 5 is because I think that's in line with what the previous commission courts did, try to make a commitment to the employees of the county to try to get them to where that they could work locally, make comparable fair market value for their services without the potential of them leaving the county, you know, to drive to Coffin, Athens, Tyler, and then return here. So I would just respectfully request 5%. I know that the commissioner's court is going to do what it needs to do after looking at the revenue and making the decision that's in the best interest of the county. So,
Can I ask you a question on that?
yes, sir.
If the employees in your area had the option for 3% and then pursuing the Paul Michael building, you know, expansion over there, do you think that they would consider 3% if we were pursuing the Paul Michael expansion? Or do you think that they would prefer to scrap the Paul Michael and go with the higher rate of increase now? I've asked other departments that, and I'm not just putting you on.
Sure, no, that's a fair question. I'm going to speak for them. I hate to do that because I haven't asked them specifically, but I believe that through our discussions on, you know, their desires and understanding that they need to be paid to keep up with inflation and cost of living, I think that they would err on the side of the former 3% and pursue the Paul Michael building.
Have the ceilings and those things that we talked about earlier, have those been a detriment to your operation and perhaps even the morale of the people that are over there working? In your opinion?
I would say yes. I mean, there was over 6 months that we were displaced out of the commissioner's court, out of the district court when the ceiling failed. Now that's obviously been fixed since then,
Right.
but we were displaced and we We went JP Court we went to the Farm Bureau, we went to the First Baptist Church, we went to Rules Point. We were like that old show, have gun will travel, we were have gavel will travel.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was hard at the time, because my court reporters packing up her stuff and we're having to move. And it was hard for the litigants, it was hard for the attorneys as well, but that being justified, I mean, that being fixed now, not being an issue. We've still had some leaks.
Yeah, that was my point, is that was fixed about a year ago, right? The roof was.
A little
was
more.
A little more than a year ago.
Yeah.
Have there been any additional leaks, that you've dealt with in that?
We have, yeah, we've experienced three additional leaks, and I believe that my opinion on where the water was entering in was on the 5th floor through the north side windows that were broken and not secure, and then it was getting in and then it was traveling down pipes. So I don't think the roof is failing. And I think that the additional flashing work that was done was good, but I think the windows not being addressed allowed the water to enter, came down, hit the pipes, and those pipes traveled across my ceiling, which leads. And so we've had that cosmetically repaired at one point, where we just painted over the stains, but we have new stains now that are a little further back, that I'm assuming that, I don't know, but I'm assuming it's due to the pipes.
So, if I were to sum up what you're saying, I guess you would say that the support of the Commissioners Court is, you're asking for the support of the Commissioners Court for the expansion of the Paul Michael building, in reasonable raises, because you believe that overall that would be a better scenario, that would be a benefit to the court and to the folks of Van Zandt County who work in this building.
Agreed. And in addition, it's going to be a service and a betterment for those that are reporting to jury duty and those that are having to come and conduct their work in the court. So the litigants, the attorneys, I believe we would definitely, I mean, if we had a central jury room to pick people, adequate bathroom space, parking is a big issue. Right now, these people are parking 2-3 blocks away, coming across traffic, trying to get in. If there was a situation that allowed for additional parking and large gathering rooms, sufficient bathrooms, it's going to be. People don't realize how difficult it is to come up and sit in a 100-person jury panel and be forced out into the hallway and wait, have limited bathrooms and limited
seating.
amount of time. And seating.
Limited seating.
Limited seating as well, but they don't realize how difficult it is.
And at
They
times-
come and they sit and they do that.
I've asked most people this too, the retirement, people have brought up, right now it's 175 and they were asking for 200. Would you think they'd want the 200 on the retirement, or do they want to raise? Because people wanting, some want to raise, some want to say.
Let me make sure they're not texting me right now, giving me answers, but if they were watching, they did have answers, and I would check my phone. I don't know that, Commissioner Barton. Based on my current staff, where they are in life, I would say retirement. They're probably going to get a greater return when they retire. If I had, a single mom working in my office, early stages of life, and toddler at home, it would probably be money now to buy milk and eggs and diapers. But my staff is not in that situation, so I don't want to. I don't want to indicate that they're not interested in having a bigger paycheck now, but if it was between the two, I would probably say they'd like to see a greater match. Now, the problem that, in that same vein, the problem that I have is that my staff now is going to have less number of years to.
Yeah, it varies for every
accrue that, so they might say, give us more money now, because if any of them retire within the next 5 years, the amount of money that they're going to accrue in the next 5 years the difference between a 175 and a 200 or 225, is it's going to be harder to see an increase in that in less than 5 years, in my opinion. I haven't looked at the amortization of that, but. Yeah. And I know that there are a lot of, I don't know all the other counties, but I know that a majority of the local counties surrounding us, contiguous, are probably 225. I don't
think
know.
they're-
if y'all-
From what we've heard, I don't know, but they've been saying too, but I haven't looked.
I know Henderson County is 225. Over the years, I've tried to hire numerous people. When I was in the DA's office, I tried to hire numerous people into the DA's office, and I lost one just because the retirement match was 50% less. I mean, it was.
So that could go into your, what you're talking about here, if your court reporter's retiring in 26. If we had that match instead of a raise, that might be more of a, attractive. To, get them here, I mean, they're both attractives, but, you just gotta weigh which one is best for the long term, I guess.
I'm curious, is it normal for like the general sector, like private sector, do they get like a 5% raise every year most of the time?
3.
When I was in
I
the
think so.
corporate world, we got 3 to 5 every year.
State
That's
government.
common.
But the difference is you get that 35% raise and it's just a pass out charge to your consumer. Where ours is a charge to the taxpayer. I mean,
Yeah.
So like. I'm just curious, like. It's just simple minded and trying to work it through. We give a 3% raise and then we have to raise property taxes 3%.
no,
No, that's no.
Because a 3% property tax increase. could-
No, I know that. I'm not saying it's equal. It doesn't equal out, but I'm saying like all the things that we are proposing to do. And we don't, when we get to the end of the figures and we say, okay, we're short here, we can't do all the things that we want to do.
That's right.
Because they want 5% and we want the Paul Michael building and we have to get all this stuff done. So
you gotta start peeling the onion somewhere. That's what.
So then we say, okay, we've given y'all a 3% raise, but if you're a property owner in Van Zandt County, taxes are gonna have to go up to do that.
No,
That our taxes won't have to go up to do it.
it depends on what that number is.
And
With the.
You
with-
can't
with the-
tie property tax increase to just salary increases.
Right.
There's a
I'm
whole,
not, I'm saying everything. I'm saying everything that we're having today, so.
right,
I'm saying that, I'm just pushing back a little bit. I'm saying that we're up against the wall.
the process that we're doing is we're meeting with everybody, going over the budgets. Now we're gonna try to put it all together to see where we're at expense wise. We won't be able to get any kind of projected revenues until the end of July. And at that point in time, then we can make decisions on what,
If it came down to an either or, do you think your employees would rather go to the Paul Michael building or get a raise? If we had an either or on that? If the judge fixes all the leaks in the building here, you getting text?
Well, it was for Ms. Curry, I was hoping it was from my staff. All my building or raises. 3% raise.
That's a lot of ifs. You're speaking to
is,
some other people.
But I don't like ducking questions, so I'm gonna answer it. I hate people that get asked questions and they duck it or they talk around it. I would say they would want to raise because at the end of the day, they're gonna leave this building and they're gonna go home. And they're gonna want to take vacations, they're gonna want to buy things for the grandkids.
and inflation's at
And
5%.
They worked in a really, renovated building that was nice and spacious. But they couldn't afford their personal life, then that balance of work and life is gonna topple. And they're gonna not enjoy their work as much.
What's your opinion? Of course, you don't know the answer to this, it's hypothetical. A second district court. You think that's in the near future?
Currently, I don't believe so. Right now, I don't think that the numbers justify it. If we were nearing that, I think we'd be hearing from the Office of Court Administration who receives that data from all of our courts, and they also look at population size. And when you say in the near future, but in 5 to maybe after 8 years or so.
I'm talking between 5 and 10 years.
Oh, 5 to 10. Oh, in 10 years, yeah, possibly that or another county court of law. Yeah, possibly on that. If you're talking about next 2 or 3 or
No,
4
no,
or
I was
5.
talking about, my thinking from what I've heard is about 5 years, 5 to 7 years we'll probably need.
I think the data would be a lot different in 5 to 7 years based on the growth that we're having and the number of cases that we're seeing. But currently,
Yeah.
I believe that one district court or one county court of law is, and we're handling the caseload, I think.
My question is that when they decide that there are more cases here than what just the one county court of law and what, if they do anticipate adding a district court, would it be a circuit court at least to start out until they determine whether or not, so it wouldn't be a constant use, perhaps it would be, instead of adding 2 district, full-time district courts, they would just add us to a circuit.
Yeah, potentially. I'm not really sure how they make those determinations. I know Anderson County, Palestine, they share a district court with Athens, Judge Calhoun. He moves back and forth.
And I think he has a third county
He does,
as well.
He does.
So-
And in Rains County, they share, actually, I gotta be there at 11 today to fill in. I got a special assignment over there, so they share with, I believe, Sulphur Springs and then also Greenville, those 2 counties. So yeah, it's possible that they
Well,
would
still need to
start,
work
but it would depend on, I think, geographically, what county around us would we share with? And you wouldn't be sharing with Kaufman, and you wouldn't be sharing with Henderson, and you would
Maybe
be sharing
Rand.
with Smith because of their population density.
Right. Well, in Henderson County, the county court of law and the circuit court share a courtroom. Because they don't schedule their dockets at the same time, so they do that, but I'm not saying it has to be that way, I'm just saying that.
But they also have 2 other dedicated district courts. So they have 2 full-time just Henderson County district courts, Judge McKee and Judge Moore. And then they also have 2 county court of laws, Judge Williams, Judge Kerrigan. And then they have the Travis Judge Calhoun. So point being that they took on a circuit court, but they also had 2 districts
four courts.
and 2 county court of laws. So, but yeah, I think there's a strong potential that we could be due for another county court of law or a district court in the next decade. But I think it's going to take a little longer to get there.
And it also has something to do with if the legislature increases the jurisdictional limitation of the justice courts, then it may take some of that pressure off the county court of law and not require that initially. But all hypotheticals.
Yeah.
Still got a plan.
Yeah, still got a plan, and that's what makes your jobs difficult. I mean, I recognize that it's difficult to receive our building's falling apart, we're lacking space, we're busting at the seams, we need to go somewhere. We'd like to catch up with more conditions to pay our people, yeah, it's kind of like I'll probably show my age, but it's like getting the Sears book, right, in October, November, and used to know, like, hey, you can circle 10 things and you get to go do that Sears catalog.
You're as old as I am.
I told you.
And put it on layaway.
Put it on layaway, yeah, so we circle it right there, so that's kind of what, I think the county's probably going through right now, if there's a wish list. They have a Sears catalog, it would be, yeah, we would love to make more money, and we would love to have a better building that, provided nicer amenities, heat when we wanted heat, and cool when we wanted cool. Not based on what Tom Digger goes. But I wanted to tell you that on note 2, so on the court reporter salary, I don't know. I'm just planning for retirement. I don't know.
You're kind of like a commissioner.
I'm kind of like a commissioner, and that makes it tough. I'm having to plan for that. In case that she does, and I do have a kind of a peculiar situation in that there's a statute there that says if I hire someone else, I can't pay them more than the last person. I don't want to be a judge who violates the law because I can't bring in a court reporter for $86,000, and then I go and have to pay them $100,000, and then someone says, "Well, Judge, you're violating the statute." So I have to make a plan for, okay, if she does leave, do I have the room in the budget to move up? It's not that I would be expending those funds. That's not my intention. But I need that headway in case. If you look at, these are exact amounts that these other counties are paying theirs. And so obviously we draw from the same pool of potential applicants in many respects, but for reporters specifically, and that is a very skilled position. And one that, if we're drawing from the same pool, where would you go? 86-1 Van Zandt County or 114-518 in Henderson County? You know,
Are you familiar with any other courts right now that may be looking for candidates and what their success rate of hiring court reporters might be?
only one is Judge Winters, probably all. And we've had that discussion, and Judge Winters and I are on the same page with this. So we talked about showing what my projections were, what I thought was fair, what was reasonable, and he's supportive of that as well. That's what it's going to take. So I know that Judge Winters is having to pay a day rate right now for court reporters to come over, and he's not been able to land a good candidate because the pay of being what it is. So I know that he's having that difficulty. It's going to be a strain on.
So is there unlimited supply of job openings for court?
Unlimited supply.
I mean, like you can go work anywhere you want, if you have that.
Well-
You can just go work anywhere.
Well, your court reporter is not designated just to work in the court. It's a stenographer, a certified shorthand, reporter, stenographer. And so these people are also depositions. They're working in the House of Representatives, the Senate. They're doing that work. And so the closed captioning you get at the bottom of your screen on your TV, they're doing that work. So working in a court is just one of those. You get named court reporter or stenographer. And so there is a large amount of jobs out there available for them. And a lot of them are work from home, work from Zoom, and take transcripts. And so obviously the benefit court reporter job is usually the benefits that are tied to retirement, leave, things of that nature, all your fringe benefits. But there is and the supply for reporters is dwindling because of the advancement in technology and AI and these things. So a lot of people, and the cost of going to court school is high, and they're required to invest in their own equipment. So they have to have updated software, laptops, machines, and those things break down. County doesn't pay for that. They pay for that. Now, one of the, benefits to them also is that they can collect money for transcripts. That's money that they get paid separate than the compensation from the county. But it is the supply for reporters is lower because court reporting schools are turning out less people. So our demand is still the same or higher, and the supply is lower. So we're seeing that.
That makes perfect sense. That makes sense to me.
And while there's digital technology is a possibility, the issue with it is the digital technology can't always identify who is speaking.
Correct.
But the quality of their transcription, if you've ever, when you talk into your phone, how many times has your phone totally gotten it wrong what you told it to say? And so that's the same thing with, Zoom. Right now, when I record on Zoom, I can watch the transcript, I can go back and watch the video, and I can read the transcript as we're talking. I don't know what the percentage rate is on that of accuracy. It's got to be less than 50%. It's got to be. And so, and also right now,
It's entertaining.
Yeah, my phone will say things that I would never say.
right, right. Well, my phone makes me look a lot smarter than I am, and I'm like, well, that's not true. But we're still required to have court reporters, and I think that we'll probably start seeing in the next few legislative sessions, and I think there already have been some bills about allowing electronic reporting in courts. But at the end of the day, when someone asks for a transcript, you still got to take that electronic reporting, even if it was permissible by statute. And if somebody wants that transcribed, where you got to send it? You got to send it to stenographer. You got to send it to a court reporter for them to do it. And then, the quality is not, and accuracy is not going to be as good as it needs to be because they're not there in real person lifetime.
Right.
So,
Thank you.
Okay.
And then note 3, so here we're back to the Sears catalog. And so I think I know Judge Reese, Judge Winters, I think sent you the memo from the Office of Court Administration.
Yes,
Did
yeah,
you-
I've seen that.
Do the rest of the commissioners have that?
No, I didn't.
Didn't
Provide that to him.
Okay. Well, let me keep my copy. Throw it around on.
Well, I can email it to him, but.
Oh, I don't know if you can see it right now. So the judicial salary supplement.
I'll let have you seen it?
No, that wasn't said.
It just shows, and by the way, this legislature has finally passed a salary increase for our judges, and it's been what, 10 years?
Since 2012.
2012,
Yeah.
close to 13 years since the judges have received a pay increase.
And part of the statutory framework on compensation for district judges is that we receive a state salary, state benefits, and then the county is allowed to supplement. But that supplement has always been maxed at, prior to just recently to Governor Abbott signing into law an increase, it was capped at $18,000. And that amount was based on kind of like if you're familiar with the IBM Ross Perot, Ross Perot worked for IBM, and once he started making more money than the CEO, they were like, hey, we're gonna have to cap you. Don't know if that story's true, but I've heard so many times, the salary supplement was capped so that a district judge could not exceed the compensation paid to an appellate court judge. An appellate court judge could not make more than a Supreme Court judge or a criminal appeal judge. So, they're kind of keeping you in line with not allowing counties to pay their judges a large amount where your district judges are making a lot more money than your appellate judges, your Supreme Court judges. So that had been capped at 18,000, and for I don't know, I think the juvenile board compensations usually been right around. I think when I came in, the DA's office in 2011 was statutorily appointed to the juvenile board. That's your DA, that's your constitutional county judge, Judge Reeves, that's your statutory county court of law, Judge Winters. Us being appointed to that, then we would receive compensation. I want to say it was around $3,000 since 2011. So from 2011 coming in as DA to today, or actually I think maybe last year or year before, I think the juvenile board pay was increased to
It was,
to 3. No,
I think maybe 4.
maybe 4.
4,000, yes.
Maybe 4,000. And so that was obviously still $14,000 less than the maximum the county could be paying. And so I think that the supplements are geared to allow the counties to supplement judicial pay because of the extrajudicial responsibilities that we have. So one of those being statutorily appointed to the juvenile board, statutorily appointed to the courthouse security committee for being responsible for oversight of the of the adult probation department, being statutorily appointed to appoint the auditor, to remove the auditor, to investigate the auditor, in addition to extrajudicial outside the courtroom.
Right.
Dealing with other elected officials, dealing with document management, working with the jail, all of those things. So Van Zandt County has not paid a significant supplement in this respect since prior to 2011, but I can only speak for 2011 going forward. So recently Governor Abbott passed or signed into law which was passed in the Senate, an increase from 18,000 to a maximum $25,000. And so due to the work that I do for the county, and I hope that you believe it's good work, I try to do good work, try to keep my documents going, I try to keep the jail population low. I do things to try to make it easier on other county offices, such as conducting my jail documents via Zoom, so the sheriff's not having to send deputies over here, drag inmates over here. working on contract attorney systems that have cut the budget year over year, still cutting the budget. Those things, what the salary supplement is aimed to compensate for. In addition, there's a lot of liability that I have personally that I don't believe that the county's gonna cover. I don't believe that tax is gonna cover. Should I be sued in any extrajudicial capacity, either in my role as a supervisor of probation or my involvement with the auditor's office or the juvenile probation department, there's no insurance policy that the county has that insures me as being one of those board members making decisions that could, have an effect of imposing liability on me if one of the policy decisions that we make has an effect of, becomes a lawsuit. So if I'm having to look to my own pocket to pay my own attorney to defend that, then I think that's also a situation where the increased pay of the supplement covers that type of.
So the supplement was 18, it's moved to 25, but we are paying 7,500, correct? That is what,
I believe that that's what it is. Every year I have to send in an affidavit to the state comptroller indicating how much I get paid from the county. And last year, I believe my certification that was verified by the auditor's office, I believe that's what I got, that 7502. And the other money that I do receive from the county, besides juvenile board pay, only came about because the county court of law judge, Judge Winters, surpassed my salary a few years ago. And when it came to the attention of the commissioner's court, they decided, okay, that seems a little backwards. And so they gave me a county supplement just so I could make the same amount of money as Judge Winters. And so that I receive additional compensation, not because of my work, but because he was making more money. And I was glad he was making more money. It was a good benefit for me, but.
did you take them out to lunch?
I did not. I probably owe him, but. So anyway, I know that this is, like I said, something that the Commissioner's Court's got to look at with regards to what our revenue is going to allow. We'll be able to account for the employees. We'll be able to account for building projects, jail, Paul Michael, whatever it is. But I've never asked for an increase in the in supplement pay, and so, but as a father of 4 kids in college, 2 on the way, it's definitely on my mind.
2 on the way
To college.
To college.
Oh.
It came as a surprise to your wife.
Yeah, she's not watching. No, 2 on the way to college. Obviously think about those things, 2 about to be driving and all those things. Same things we all deal with, in our personal lives, how we make ends meet. Obviously this is one of the tools I have at my disposal, is to come to the court and ask, hey, this is what I need to do to make ends meet, and this is what you're getting in return. You're getting a long time committed elected official who works very hard each day to meet budget, to cut budget, to be helpful, try to do what's in the best interest of the county. So that's the sell.
Okay. All right, thank you very much, Judge.
Any other questions on any other issues?
No, sir.
All right. Well, I appreciate you gentlemen. Y'all have a Ms. Barker says raise. Ms. Davidman says raise. So, all right, thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
We just want to to help worlds.
So our next county library is up next. If I can find it, I'm sure they're out, they must be out in the hall.
Next one's.
That's one pass.
Very topical.
Little papers for you.
Most of the stuff is.
Good morning.
Good morning. Here, I didn't give this to you.
Bring in books so we can check out.
No, did you want me to?
Autobiographies.
Good.
Autobiographies are my favorite. When I was in school, I checked out most of the autobiographies.
Yes.
Louis the Morris.
Well,
I read all the Louis the Moore books.
you probably don't belong now.
All right, you want to get started?
Yes. Okay.
So tell us first about, you wanted some part-time help?
Yeah, I was hoping to see if maybe part-time help or maybe seasonal help during the time this summer that we're most busy, like May to September. I just kind of put a figure in there depending on how much we might have to pay. We talked about that a little bit. People were, I was thinking maybe like somewhere $13 to $14 an hour or so, but if I could just get someone to help during summer reading, which is going on right now. There's 3 of us and we're really busy in the library at this particular time. We got the first performer that we had, the first week, we had 170 people in attendance.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Where'd you put them all?
They were crammed in there.
Hmm,
They're just
okay,
in there. That's all I can tell you.
and you got a big event next week, right?
Well, we have one every week.
Oh, I'm talking about at the school.
Yes,
For
the
the Farm
Chemistry
Bureau.
Road Show, that's coming up. Yes, that's gonna be at the Farm Bureau office.
Mhm.
We'll put that in. We've got about 72 people registered for it right now, so we have room for some more. So I've been all over town putting out flyers trying to make sure everybody that can come, we can accommodate 130 people for that event.
Okay,
Okay. As far as my other costs go for office supplies, I have increased that. Mostly due to the cost of toner for my copier and, some things that I'm going to need for, our, storage home supply lady.
Scott, is there a copier on a lease,
Yes.
service lease?
Yes.
It doesn't cover the toner cost?
That's
Not the little Rico one that you got, I mean, kidding.
the one in
Comes
your
out my
office.
budget.
Okay,
And it's pretty expensive, on Amazon, the black and white cartridges. If you just get a regular one, it's about, $87. If you get a high yield one, it's, almost 100. If you get a package of all 4 of them with the color and the black and white, it's about $400. It's high. And Kitty and I have to use that one. Our computers are tied to that one. I believe because of security reasons, we can't be hooked to the public printer Wi-Fi since we're printing out emails and
Mhm.
items. Jordan's computer, she's at the end, hers does not contain that sort of stuff, and it's hooked to the county printer, which Scott does provide the ink for that. So I'm estimating at least $1,000 for that. Because we print a lot of things. Postage, I just asked for 3 rolls of postage. It's gonna go up July the 1st to 78 cents. For postage. Library supply.
What all do you mail?
What do I mail? I have some, correspondence that I mail to different, libraries and such. We try not to mail late book notices until we email them and we call them. We have a list that we call
Mhm.
people that late and over the books to tell them how many books they have out. we don't send the letter as, as a last resort. To try to get them and say, guess what, you owe $32.50 now for your 8 books, and, if you do not bring them back, then we charge the price of the book, because if they don't bring them back, we have to replace the book, and it's the full price of the book.
Okay.
So, but 3 rolls usually does this for a year, so, I put down the amount for the computers and the Windows update and the software. I'm not sure, I wasn't clear as whether that is included in my budget or if that is in Scott's budget. I'm not clear on that. I wanted to see
That was,
how that worked.
Updating the public computers, I already factored in. I didn't factor in the Cassie placement, any of that, because we haven't got any numbers on that.
Yeah.
is
Well,
there not grants available for library
won't-
computers?
it won't update. And it's the controller for the public computers. It has the software that controls the public computers that turns them on and off. And if they have a fine, they can't, it has to,
Access.
it won't let them get on the computer if they have a fine till they can pay their. And you get the fine money.
Mm.
That goes to your general budget.
Okay. So the other question I had was the Office 365. Because you're currently, all those computers have 2010. Is there not a educational library rate?
There is, when they were first purchased, it was under the library cost, the Friends of the Library, I think, bought all of us.
Mm-hmm.
And it was at that reduced rate, it was a lot reduced, it was,
Right.
and I'm sure they still have that program.
Okay.
We have, the staff under our Office 365.
That was before my time. They have a county tag on them, so I'm assuming that they're county property.
The software is not through, the library. I'd look at that.
Okay. But again, if you get the new computers, we'll need to get the new software too, right? The new Office.
Right, I think we can still get it through the library, we could get it
Mhm.
on the,
Right.
well, I'll have to look up, see what that is.
Okay.
Okay, I have never bought the software through anything with the library, but that doesn't mean anything. I can check on it and see. Also too, we have a need for probably an increase in copy paper, allotment.
That would be your office supplies, correct?
Right, that's under office supplies, yes. We need to, we're going to be providing the supplies for the Storytime Woman. I estimated that cost to be 50 weeks out of the year. She takes two weeks off, and we have so many children attending Storytime now. We average about 35 or 40 children attending Storytime right now, which is wonderful. We've had so many people moving into the area. In fact, we have issued so many new library cards that the place that I buy the library cards from, I had to buy 250 additional library cards before we started summer reading, because we knew we were gonna run out. And even though I really didn't wanna spend that money, because it's a lot better if you order like 1,000 at a time, you get a cheaper rate. I knew that I had to have those cards, because there's no way I can turn someone down that comes to the counter, and the parent has to get a card, and then the child has to be 6 years old to get a card. And some of them have a lot of fun with that. On their 6th birthday, they come make a big deal out of the library and get a card. And so,
Do you tell them it's a credit card?
yeah, they have to get their own little card. So, it's fun for them, but we are averaging, as best we can count. We don't have a door counting system. We had one, but it doesn't work apparently. So we're just using a hashtag system right now. We're averaging about 75 or 80 people that we can keep count of through the doors just on a normal day. And more than 1,000 people onto the Wi-Fi in a month's time right now through the summer. So we're handling a lot of people. We got a lot of foot traffic. There's quite a bit there. So library supplies includes,
Let me back up just a second.
book covering supplies, labels.
When you talked about the Wi-Fi 1,000 a month, for, commissioners don't know, we have a lot of people in the county that come to the library strictly to use Wi-Fi because they cannot afford a Wi-Fi service, or they don't have access to
Well, they
Wi-Fi
don't.
at their local, but they can just come and park in the parking lot
Yes, sir.
and use the
It's
Wi-Fi.
available. We have it to be open 24/7 for people who don't have it, that need to, well, you might or might not know that Social Security and Medicare has gone to making you, make an on account to go in and look at your, I guess eventually they're gonna go to where they won't print out your
Right.
papers like everyone is. So we help a lot of people go online and set up their Social Security and Medicare accounts on. And so if we're not open and you needed to know something or you needed to print your Medicare card before you go to the doctor tomorrow morning, you could go and you could request that online, and then if you have no other way to print it, you can come tomorrow morning, and we open it, and you would be ready to print, and you could get your card. And so.
How do they do that? How do they get it from their phone or their device
Yes, you
to the
can.
printer? How, is just AirDrop or
Yes.
is that how you do it?
Our Rico Scott sees to that we have a good printer that all that works.
Right.
Right from
That's neat.
the good printer.
And how much you charge per copy?
We charge
Right.
15 cents for black and white and 25 cents for color.
Okay.
And all that revenue comes to you as well. Copies, faxes, we do laminating. We have a laminator. We do laminating service to people. That comes to them, and the fine money.
Pretty low.
It's pretty,
It's not a lot of money, but some help, guys. Every little bit helps.
Yeah, I'm just saying, that's not a high charge. It's
Yeah.
very reasonable.
okay.
So in your population growth, it says here at the bottom of the first page, 2023 student population of 13,657. And the projected at 15,165 for 2025. And then on your last page, when it talks about the particular districts, the 23-24 shows 10,693 in those particular districts.
No, we just kind of did a range and estimate. The most people, believe it or not, they get a library card from us or from Canton and Spring.
Right, but the nature of the genesis of my question is that we know that I'm not disputing your numbers here. 15,165 for 2025 numbers, and 10,600 in student population for those different ISDs. There very well may be as many as 5,000 homeschool students in the population, and it's probably unlikely that you're able to capture whether or not a student is homeschooled or not. But it does seem like that the homeschool population uses those. Do you have programs during the day at the library that specifically targeted toward
We
homeschool
have
students?
2 homeschool groups that meet at the library right now that use our meeting room, Buchanan room. They're on a regular schedule of meeting with us.
Do you know whether or not those might be co-op schools, cooperative schools where parents, that meet?
I don't know.
And your population estimation on the bottom of the first page in 2023, the overall population reported 59,640, and in 2025, that's 66,224. That's almost 6,500 increase in population over that period, which is a little bit more than what we've been estimating of 1,000 population. I believe 66,224 is probably right, that we're more than growing more than 1,000 in population per year, just based on the school enrollment numbers.
That's true.
But so where did you
Well,
recall?
we got these numbers from the school and on the internet and just estimated.
The population, the overall population of the county, you got that from the school as well?
That's how I get my state accreditation, is based on the school population.
I'll send you the link to Texas demographics that shows the population growth.
Okay,
That's what I use. It has all the counties.
okay,
And I check it regularly to see.
okay.
But it's showing for 25, some are, well, I haven't looked at it, so I'm not excited.
Well, I believe the schools, because they're smart.
You think? I don't know.
Well, we hope that they are, and that's all I have.
I went to school here and graduated from here, so I think I did okay.
So they're smart. They're smart people. Well, I believe their numbers. They're local, and in the state, who knows, what demographics.
That's true. I'm not sure how often that is updated as well, and what method they use to update it. I mean, you can only.
So
I'll send you the link and you can read all about it. It's very good.
Yes, but I would
very
like to
accurate
see,
site.
I would like to see what you have that you go by.
Okay.
I just wanted to have something of
absolutely,
reference that
and I
you
sure
could
can.
actually
I appreciate that.
look at.
And we do appreciate your newsletter. We get every year, every month that you provide a report showing all the details. And
Well,
all
we
the-
used to send the pictures separately, then we got the bright idea to send it all together to you so you could see it in action,
Okay,
so to speak.
all right.
Okay.
Very good. Anything else?
My web-based management, which is all my library software, that's the same. I called every one of them to make sure that that would be the same. Books, I asked for an increase because my, supplement help that I receive, from other groups will not commit to, helping me for this next budget year. I have an email from them. And in that email, they state that the Friends of the Library cannot commit to any items on the list that they're at this time. We will have a meeting, in August, and at that time, you will be invited to this meeting. And we will discuss a library budget to decide if any money will be provided to you, or if any grants may be accepted.
Doesn't sound very friendly to me.
So.
And one of the things that you talked about was newspaper subscriptions.
Right.
You got the two. The newspapers do not provide a free subscription to libraries?
The Friends provided that and they can.
Okay, but newspapers don't provide a free subscription
That's
to
right.
libraries.
And they're very high.
Yes, okay.
Tyler went up
Awesome.
on theirs again, and that was taken away, and Dallas, and I have tried. Really, I'm gonna try again to get a sponsor. I advertise for a sponsor. I used to have someone who sponsored the newspaper for me in totality every year. He was a great proponent of the library. But bless his heart, he's since died, and his family did not step up to take it.
So do the magazines, are they provided for free?
Yes, sir.
Magazine?
They have been, let's put it though.
Oh,
I'm not, I don't know how that's gonna go.
Okay,
So I'm just asking, just presenting this, be happy with what I.
okay. All right. Thank you so much. We appreciate what you do.
Thank you, your time.
All right, moving on to election.
Good morning.
Yes.
Ready for elections?
Absolutely. It's not asking much.
What is right, Susan? Oh, you gave us two.
What I'm passing out to you, right?
Oh, you got another one?
Yeah.
Somewhere in the middle of it. That's where everything. So I'm not ready, but some.
I'm trying to, I scanned these in last night. I'm opening them up right now.
Okay.
That's it.
So, what order are you going in? Just let me know so I can get,
Okay, so the first one you should be looking at is the budget proposal as EA only current laws. The little packet I just gave you should be the second page, should look like the second page.
second page. Budget proposal, okay. Current law. It's not refreshing that quickly on the screen. That's what the problem is. Let's go. Is that it?
No, that's the three locations.
That's the same page I was just on.
That's correct. laws.
That one? Okay.
Okay, would you start? I'm gonna let Shannon start with this.
Current, we have multiple election laws that went into effect this year. That is going to affect the bottom line of the budget. And we are asking for the creation of an election administrative position.
You find out the different laws real quick. Ask.
Hey, Louise.
I want to get, I'm going back and vote. See.
I have a packet down in my office that I printed out all the laws, new laws, and it's about this thick. It's only 4 elections.
These are effective September or
September 1st of this year.
Mhm.
A lot of them went into effect immediately. We're gonna have to have all new voter registration applications. Ballot by mail applications, which will probably be 3 pages at least to send out whenever we have it, by requesting applications. And all of ballot by mail kits that we mail out. The wording has changed, the fonts have changed. So the state, we're gonna have to have all new applications. So there is a lot lot that's gone in that's gonna change the budget. I have two budget proposals for you. Pardon me. One is under the current laws it is, one is after 2753. State Bill 2753 goes into effect. It's supposed to go into effect September 1st. But the state has to set rules and guidelines, and they have until August 31st of 27 to do that. So we're hoping for the next year or so that doesn't kick in.
Mhm.
And what that bill does is it eliminates early voting, basically. We'll have what you call an election period, which starts 12 days before the election and goes straight through to election day. Which will increase workers, will increase hours.
And it starts like on a Thursday.
Yeah, early voting will start on a Thursday and go all the way through to election day.
How would that increase hours when you got early voting and then voting day now? Instead, you just put it all in one.
It's the same amount of days. But what happens is we're gonna have to have, the state hasn't clarified whether we're gonna have to have all of our 18 locations open. We've asked that question and we can't get clarification. So that if we have to have all 18 open for that election period, it will definitely increase our hours.
Tremendous.
Right,
Well, not only that, but we can't, the 18 locations we use now cannot be open, cannot. be
Correct.
placed.
The whole thing is trying to find either new locations, and try to find the workers, because we already have, we struggle to find workers now just for one day.
That makes sense. I understand.
yeah. Also what it includes is 2 full weekends of voting. 12 hours on Saturdays, 9 hours on Sundays. So right now, we only have the one weekend that we have to be open, we'll be open 2 now. So, in the last 4 days are 12-hour days. So,
And you said that might go into effect the 20 and 27,
it has to go in effect before August 31st of 2027.
but it could go in effect before then.
It could, depending on when the state sets their rules and guidelines. So
Okay,
that's
state.
what it's supposed to go into effect October 1st, but they said there is no way they can get all of the regulations and rules and guidelines in place before the November election.
So this is all passed.
It has passed.
Now, my understanding, and I didn't follow it all the way through the passage, but my understanding was that, the comptroller office had to do an evaluation and study and present a report by such and such a date before it would go into effect, correct?
Well, she give us 2.
That's been on and off the fence. The last we heard is the state was gonna have to just set some guidelines.
If they can get it done and present it, and it goes into effect.
Right, but if they didn't get it, if they don't get the guidelines done by that time, it doesn't go into effect, correct?
Till the 27th.
Yeah, they have to August 31st of 2027.
Okay,
So they could come in March and say, hey, for the primary, here you go.
Well, this is off the subject, but this can be fixed real easy. Just make election day a federal holiday, nobody works, everything's shut down and everybody can vote.
I would agree with that.
Except election workers.
yeah.
Yeah, election workers are the exception.
The right to vote already been on.
Commissioners work that day.
That's what I just told him. I said, then what do you do? Because you just made it a federal holiday. So the people working for the election can't work.
You get paid double.
Yeah.
Well, most of our election day workers have worked early voting, so they don't have that break anymore between early voting and election day. So that's another issue we're gonna have is having these workers work that solid 13 days straight. Plus trying to get our equipment, while we're still holding an election, trying to get our equipment delivered. If we don't have them all open,
Or do some recruiting.
I would love to do some.
But a lot of those rules are not gonna be in effect for this next year, right?
For this next
Those-
election.
This next budget year. other than the changes in the ballots and all.
We hope.
Yeah.
It could though.
It could,
Yeah.
that's, it
And
just
that's what
depends
I'm
on the state. We have, right now, it's all up in the air. We're waiting on the state.
Okay, so our budget year goes from October 25 to September of 26.
Right.
And this law would not go into effect until 27.
Maybe.
We
Maybe,
don't know.
we don't know. It depends on when the state,
Who do we need to contact?
yeah. You can contact the Secretary of State, John Nelson.
Who we need to contact?
So basically, they got us in limbo.
Exactly, we are in limbo.
We probably should contact them.
So in your opinion, in order to enact many of these things and prepare for the changes that are coming, should an election administrator position be created? Do you think that that's necessary in order to make sure that Van Zandt stays up to date with the rules and the laws that have been changed?
Yeah.
Well, y'all asked last year for one and didn't get one, but I don't think it's a question now with all these.
Exactly.
With what's actually going on.
Just happening, I mean,
There's a lot to keep up with.
a lot. And, just missing one thing
But,
can be
right,
disastrous.
and also though, you need to explain what that entails if you go with an election administrator as far as is there a ballot, I forget what it's called, a ballot board or voting board or what? There's a commission or a board that's because it's no longer under an elected official. The elections are under the EA instead, and there's a board that's created that works with the EA, correct?
Correct. The board would consist of the county judge as the chair, and clerk as the vice chair. Then you have your tax assessor collection and both party chairs.
And that's what they're doing.
Okay,
So. This is, I mean. I'm not putting all this together, but you're just asking for one more position, election administrator, is that what you're asking for?
We're asking for the election administrator, and then Susan will give up a person on her staff to go with that position.
But are you gonna wanna rehire that position?
Not for the first year.
Okay, so y'all are just wanting to hire an election official this year, that's what y'all are asking for is one person this year.
As it relates to adding to the budgetary numbers?
Yes.
Since they're transferring money from one department to the other department, I think that's what I'm gathering.
Okay, so. Right now, I've got a position open, and actually, we have somebody who's already applied and should be starting. Probably the second week of July. That person. Will be going, if we get an EA, we'll be going with Shannon. To do election.
Well, Shannon,
Shannon
under
would-
elections,
you need to explain, you haven't said that Shannon would be the election administrator.
Our
There
election
you go.
administrator. She's got many years' experience, she's done election. How many years have you done elections?
20 to 25, about 23.
so you're wanting Shannon to become the election administrator.
Correct.
And then you're gonna take the person that you have and basically be Shannon now. Correct?
That person will
Or
be.
your assistant or whatever.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, that person will be transferred out of the county clerk's office. So Susan will lose two positions, actually. Right. Myself and that person, and then will become.
Okay,
our
and then
clerk.
not this year, but next year, you'll ask for
One,
one position.
But,
if needed, and
Right.
the reason is because right now. Land being sold has slowed down some, and so I've spoken to my staff and, I told them, because look, if we do this. I need everybody to step up, and of course, everybody works the counter anyway, birth certificate, everything else. And everybody has agreed that, everybody's cross-training in there, and everybody's doing everybody else, civil. Criminal, everything, so just as long as everybody's got everybody's back and does everything, we're gonna be good. So the only reason why, if I hire somebody next year, if I need another position, would be if the real estate market is back up and does
All it takes is a reduction in the interest rate for things to start
Exactly.
popping back off. With the number of rules here, do you believe that the election administrator position can be done just with Shannon alone?
No,
Do you think that Shannon, do you believe that you have an adequate amount of space down there to accomplish the tasks that you've been given? Considering the increase in the number of things that the state legislature has placed on you, has the state legislature, along with these, given perhaps a pot of money for you to accomplish these tasks? So what they're doing is they're placing additional requirements on us that the taxpayers of Van Zandt County are going to have to pony up and pay. So if you don't have enough space down there in order to accomplish your tasks, are you looking forward at all to the possibility of the expansion to the Paul Michael building so that you can accomplish the things that, and have adequate amount of room for accomplishing these statutorily required laws?
Yes, I believe so. I believe when I looked at the plans, it was over 4,000 square feet dedicated to elections. We need to have a space where our offices can be in the same place that early voting is located, or the main early voting location place. By law, that's how it's supposed to be, but obviously we can't do it here. So we designate a library.
But we would be able to do early voting there.
We would be able
Right? We
to,
have plenty
yes,
of parking and,
yes. We would have enough storage space so that we can have all of our equipment stored, cages in one location. 4,000 feet, I think, would be adequate because it would have enough, we could have like a conference room type thing that we could hold over the voting can.
Do you
as well
do
as
counts?
conferences.
Do you do counts of ballots, et cetera? Are you required to do that by the state?
Yes.
And do you have an office right now that's large enough to accommodate that type of account?
No, sir, the last time we had to use this courtroom and the district courtroom.
And so sometimes do you displace, others in order to accomplish your statutorily required duties?
have to schedule around for.
Has that ever posed a problem for you accomplishing the tasks that the state's required you to do?
I feel like y'all are on trial.
Yeah.
I keep on saying objection, leading the witness.
That's exactly what we're doing.
Yeah.
But the point is that we have laws and such that are coming down all the time regarding all of these different areas, and we're not given not either money or individuals or to accomplish these things. And so we have additional burdens and responsibilities on the commissioner's court in order to accomplish those. And sometimes growth requires additional real estate.
And I can tell you, I ran the numbers this morning. In June of 2018, which is when you're acting back to Van Zandt County, we had 14,524 registered voters. As of this morning, right before I came to this meeting, we had 41,367 registered voters.
You say 14,000 to 41,000?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
In a 7-year time period.
This,
So-
and
Big jump.
that's, and the reason of that is because people were dissatisfied and they voted. They got out and voted. It's partly growth and partly people waking up and saying there needs to be some change. And
It's my prediction before the November of 26, which will be the governor's election. I figure it will be between 45 and 50,000 registered voters for that,
What day?
before the November 2026 election, which is the next governor's race.
which will be 3 seats on this, I guess.
On the, I think you made your point on the election administrator, on the, this came up. And I don't know what the laws are. But is there anything that they've got, and it makes common sense to me. City elections. Why are they driving to Canton when they live in Van to come vote? Why can't we have early voting in Van or Wills Point, or I mean, whatever city that the election is in, have early voting in that city, you have more of a turnout, in my opinion.
You would have more of a turnout. We do have proposed another budget for 3 early voting locations in countywide elections. If we contract with the city of Van, the city of Wills Point and such, I will have to do more research if we don't have an election to see what we can do. It's not feasible, or it's, I'm not just gonna say feasible. It would be difficult to have 15 different polling locations. Let's say we have a school election, city election, and that election. And we're running the whole thing to have 15 different locations.
Right.
That would be very hard to do. At this point, we are proposing on a separate budget having 3 locations, and we're talking about Canton, Wills Point, and Van. And then everybody from those areas would be able to choose which one to go to. Of course, if we do that, that also increases the budget. But we don't want to disenfranchise voters. We have been approached by the city of Van that if we have an EA, that even not if we don't, if we have a countywide election, they will supply a vote or an employee to come help us. We have an agreement with the city of Van that if we do an election with them, that we don't charge them to lease the election equipment, and they don't charge us for the location.
That's where it's fishing to get it right there, be able to let that, those machines can be
So we can
leveraged.
Right,
to approach Van and see if we can get the sign, not Van, but
Wills Point.
Mhm.
and see if we can get.
I mean, I'm done with the fact of how this thing works, but it just makes more sense if you have a city election.
Mhm.
Why aren't we driving to Canton to vote for it?
Right.
Makes no sense. Just have the early voting in the city, but it's in.
Now, if the city does their own election, they have that option, which will point on their own equipment. So, and Canton ISD is talking about buying their own equipment if they can get the city to agree to have their elections. Yeah. If that's the case, we won't be running their elections. Now, in May, we didn't run anybody's elections, but we did lease the equipment, and since it was new equipment this year, first time that they used it, I offered to do all of their programming, ballots, stuff. I went to all of their testings.
And then we were on, I have Tabitha in West Point and I was in, Van, and Branceline, and I also hit Fruitville just to make sure everything was running. We had no problems, but it did run very smoothly,
It
actually.
did. It
So
did.
we helped administer the city-run elections.
To make sure.
And was any of that covered in the contract?
Do I?
Was any of that cost covered in the contract for the rental of the equipment?
They did have to rent a machine, it's $5, sorry, 500 per piece of equipment. And then they had to pay for their own programming, ballots at 44 cents a piece. So however many ballots they used, they got charged at 44 cents. Even though they printed their own, they used the ballot on demand system and they loved it. So we supplied the paper and of course charged them for it. And then anything that we contract with them, we get a 10% administrative fee over and above what we charge them. So even though we're not the ones actually charging them the $1,500 for the programming, we still get 10% on top of that.
And where does those monies go?
That's what's going in a dedicated account that's for our election equipment and such.
Lance can talk, can he?
Yeah.
Okay.
Lance, he can talk.
Also, that's something Lance, thank you for reminding me. The cities and schools, there's a new law passed this year that allows the cities and schools to move their elections to November. I do have 2 cities already that have signed the resolutions to do that. Van has done it, so is Branceline. By doing that, they will, be on our ballots. So wherever we have early voting, they'll go there. It helps the counties on cost of elections because we share those costs. And it helps the schools and the cities with those costs. At that point, if they're on our ballot, I propose that we charge them if we're with them. And let's say us in the city of Ann, then we only charge them, well, we don't charge them.
Right.
Let's say Will's Point, if they're on our ballot, and I propose we only charge them $250 because we're using that equipment as well. So we share the costs of everything. But I do believe back to one, the cities and schools going to the November elections, that will increase voter.
Oh, yeah. Okay,
I like that.
What are the, we talked about this a little bit, when we were going over the surveillance library, the extra surveillance requirements. All your 22 locations. How are we taking care of that? So I know you were asking for early voting in the library with put more cameras.
Right now, we don't,
Like municipalities and stuff have that.
most of the municipalities do, you can't have election or cameras in the voting room.
No, but there's
And-
the exterior ones.
Yeah,
That because it is an incident.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say, because there was incident at the library that we needed to pull video to look at. There were several things that happened, and when I asked Tanya to pull the video, she said, well, there was no video for the location that I wanted to look at. And,
I think that should be on the
Safety
city's
reason
cost
only.
anyway.
Yeah.
I don't think the county should be responsible.
Well,
If you have problems anywhere else but there.
well,
no, I mean,
let's back up right now. We have 18 precincts, right?
Correct.
So when we're required to man on election day, all 18
voting
precincts, okay? And many of those precincts do not even have internet access, correct?
Correct. But we are getting hotspots
Yeah.
this
in
year
our budget.
for all of those locations for all 8.
Okay. So, and that'll work with the new poll pads that we have,
Yes.
that we are
That we are-
anticipating.
When you say 18 precincts, Judge, I mean 18 voting locations.
Location.
Well,
You correct, correct, I'm sorry, 18 polling.
we'd have 18
So,
commissioners up here.
one of the things that, yeah, I'm sorry. Well, there are precincts, so I think, or no, what they're, polling locations, you're right. Oh, that'd be a nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, my question is there a way that we can consolidate and not have to open 18? Lance, do you want to answer that question? Okay,
Election law to county chairs, we can no longer consolidate through crime. All polling locations have to be open. Now, this is also going to include if they change the election link. Yeah, if they change the new schedule to going for like 2 weeks straight. Okay, all 18 locations, no consolidation for the 2 weeks. You guys for November actually could probably consolidate, but as county chairs, we no longer keep. Elected officials got tired of finding out that they didn't get some of their votes. So they just extended it, so that's a new election law.
and who is paying for all these election workers?
This is, well, the state pays for it, theory, we get the money from the Secretary of State. Bottom line, it's an unfunded mandate.
Yeah,
It's
but early voting, my understanding is the county pays for early voting.
Early voting is the county's responsibility. Election day, as far as primaries and runoffs, the parties pay for that through the state, or the state pays that is the party. But for the constitutional amendment election, for November elections, the county's responsible.
100% of that.
So Lance, let me see if I got this straight with the state law. we still have to keep all 18 of our polling locations open for 2 weeks, paid for by the county.
Primaries, yes,
So it's basically a mandate.
and includes runoffs.
It includes runoffs,
Or maybe they're gonna go to a week, but it's gonna be all.
Runoffs are usually a week.
and that's state mandated.
Okay, now,
Yes, we can support it.
question number 2. Does this, what if we applied for and got countywide voting?
Then we would be able to consolidate some, technically.
And let
they-
me explain to everybody what countywide voting is. That is where we have the opportunity to consolidate voting precincts into certain voting centers. So we could potentially go from 18 to 10 or 9. We could actually, as long as they don't have more than a certain number. And in that way, we would save all that money on all those election workers.
And you have to do it in stages.
Right.
Just go.
It's a process that you have to apply for through the Secretary of State, in order to do that. So,
That is our goal. Countywide
Yeah,
polling
no.
means that you can go to any location within the county to vote.
We need to
Have to
get
go
to
to-
where it's easier for citizens to vote
Correct.
and also economically making sense for the county and the taxpayers.
Correct.
It seems like right now, 18 polling locations open for 2 weeks. I mean, that's a nightmare.
Is minimum 3 workers per polling location.
Yeah.
Per party,
Yeah.
per party, so you're at 6.
You said you could drop it to 9 with countywide?
if we apply for a tribe, the state only allows a certain number of counties to apply for, and
That's been eliminated.
that has. So we can just apply for it and okay.
You have to have public hearing.
But in order to do countywide, you have to have an election administrator.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, I think they made their point on that. I mean,
That's an
Whatever
imperative.
this is,
already.
includes
It's
more.
imperative,
I mean,
it's
I think
imperative that
right
we have
now.
a county
countywide.
election administrator. And that's almost like a
That's
no-brainer.
been my goal from day one, is like, get the election equipment up to par, as I would say, and then get the EA and then go countywide. In the end, it's all about the vote.
Right.
so you gotta plan it, Susan.
I
You
have
gotta plan it.
day one.
So
When was day one?
Is this new law of the consolidation, is that something that is just going in,
Are you talking about which?
consolidating the polls?
The countywide polling place?
Countywide, no,
No, like it is now,
Oh, okay.
that we can't consolidate.
That is something that did pass this time, I believe.
yes, that's part of the current legislation that goes into effect when the governor signs. it.
So what happens? Do they have rules there for Mother Nature causes?
I was gonna say, cause Bobby, and in fact,
I
right,
felt like-
yesterday, and
I felt
Bobby
like-
knows from day.
I felt
He
like I
knows it.
really got cheated when it was my time. When the electricity went out in Edgewood
Yeah.
and they moved that to Wills Point and consolidated the Wills Point box and the Edgewood box.
At that
When they
point,
could have just had a generator or something to,
Right, correct, but
You're
at that
sitting there
time,
like-
you've gotta remember,
Here.
we've gotta do what we've gotta do.
no, I'm not,
Yeah, right, yeah,
I'm just asking for,
but
the
that is
future.
correct.
yeah, well, the state was here that day and they told us you do what you have to do. We were on the phone with the state immediately.
Would you like them to budget for generators for all?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to have
No.
generators, but where are we gonna store them?
right. Yeah, no, I
we
know
do-
that's another nightmare, but
Bobby's
that,
barn.
Where's Cliff? Cliff will answer that question. Where are you gonna store them? He'll start on you.
We had 2 generators.
Yeah.
We just didn't have enough generators,
Yeah.
that was the problem.
So what you're asking for, I guess, step one, this year's budget, y'all are asking for an election administrator, and then
And then-
basically that's what you're asking for, because Susan, you're gonna take one of your girls over there. So step one for this year, y'all are asking for election administrator.
Right.
Correct.
Okay.
So basically, Susan's providing the funding for the election administrator by taking one of your people off here.
Yeah,
And lowering your budget to be able to open up that position.
and remember
It's
next
very,
year,
very
you're gonna
reasonable
come
thing.
back asking for an employee.
So And we can still apply for countywide,
Yes.
anytime after we get an election administrator in place, correct?
Well, she said that they done away with that, didn't
No,
No, not countywide.
they? Oh,
They eliminated used to the state only took 4 counties a year. But they've eliminated that limit, anybody.
Okay.
just anybody but.
so we got a question with that.
Just things, so we did discuss this last budget season and I have full confidence in Shannon and Susan and what they prepared and willing to do the part, but I do have a couple of questions that I've been thinking of, like, for one, God forbid, the election administrator is ill and cannot fulfill the duties, would that fall on Susan again, that happens the chair? Or in how?
Following the
how
clerk.
is it- What would my role be from the paperwork I was given as secretary role? Winning meetings, so am I gonna have to attend, is there gonna be reports that I'm gonna have to, like, how much more work is this gonna put on me? As a tax assessor, which I'm not just waiting for all the elections at all at this point, no, I'm doing my part and helping. Because like I said, I do have confidence in Shannon and they, I know that we're all human, things can happen. I wanna make sure that we're thinking of what if, and what if, so we have plan A, B, and B in line going forward. Like I said, I don't mind doing a little more, but I wanna make sure that it's not just so overwhelming at that, and I wanna make sure that I research and know what I need to provide. You know, to the county and for your department that I'm gonna do that properly, you know. It's, Lance knows I was secretary for some of the convention, and I had no idea what I was doing, but I did the best I could, and I think I did a darn good job, right, but.
What, I
Okay,
guess
so.
clue me in here,
hold
if we're gonna have, say Shannon as election administrator, you're gonna have an assistant. That assistant should be able to take your role, but what does the tax assessor collector have anything to do with elections?
They will be part of the board.
They're part of the board.
They're responsible. Many of the other many smaller counties, a lot of the election stuff, or at least the voter registration, falls on the tax assessor collector.
That's usually her office, but
Some counties, it falls under the sheriff, even, like.
Right.
There's counties.
Right, well,
that census population. Yeah, basically, so.
That's why she's involved.
It's like, what's a,
That's
make no sense to me.
exactly, it's just that the county clerk here, I don't know that she follows the loop, but since I've been here,
Since I've been here, I started here in 98.
you know, has been doing.
But to answer Missy's question, if something happens to Shannon, she's sick on election day, well, that's what
Okay,
she's
so-
got her assistant
All
for.
right, have
She's been trained for that.
For us, what I haven't said is, definitely for the first year or two, my staff, as long as the commissioner's court has no problem, and I know that it's my office, I'm the elected official. We're still going to close on election day. My office is still going to help anything that Shannon needs. For example, usually it's me and Tabitha are the runners on election day. I've told her we'll still be her runners. In other words, it's something, because there's no way that she can leave her office on election day when the board is there. We'll still be the runners out there if something goes down with the machines. Usually, Tabitha usually will hit 2 of the precincts, I get the other 2, and we're running out there fixing things, whatever's on fire. And then my staff here is the call center, telling people where they need to go vote. Anybody that comes in that doesn't know where they need to go, we're still gonna do that. Okay, so we're gonna do that at least for the first year until, you know, she gets up on her feet, gets going, whether she gets more staff the following year, another person, whatever. If we have to help the following year, that's fine. We also have to make sure that Road and Bridge is gonna commit to deliver the equipment with us. That's my staff also helps with that. We're committing to doing that. But that being said, a couple times this last go around, and some of the commissioners refused to deliver equipment.
We're committed, I'm committed.
And so that was a problem.
We'll commit you.
And so that's something that the chairs will make sure that y'all are committed that whether it's Saturday or Sunday, whatever. My staff doesn't want to work on Sunday. I don't want to work on Sundays, but we have to do what we have to do.
And what about those locations or churches? Is it Sunday evening that you do it?
Whatever they let us do. We call them ahead of time and we'll ask them, you know, some of them will say anytime after 2. Okay, or anytime after 4. So we schedule everybody so that we try to hit that one at 2, this one at 4, whatever it takes. Some of them let us come on Saturday. That's fine. Anything that we can do without the guys, we'll do. But if we can do it on a Friday, we do it on Friday.
We'll be available. It's the foundation of our society,
Perfect.
elections.
And usually what we do is we'll take, let's say patient 1 and 2, we'll deliver, and then 3 and 4 we'll pick up. Or whatever, however it works, is what we do.
Misty?
Sorry, I did something, I just thought.
So,
And maybe you guys can explain it very easily, so I just thought, I am an elected official, the judge, elected official, you're an elected official. Well, what if I decided to rerun this next program, and so you just find another person to be on the board? Or if we get voted out, then
whoever is elected.
okay.
is automatic.
Okay, that's what I just wanted to say, make sure, and with, you know, like, once it's election season, but if I'm on the ticket and I wanna make sure it's
You
there,
never
like,
touch the
around.
ballot, so you never touch the ballot, that's just like me, you have the county clerk now. What I do is I don't usually touch the ballot, especially on election night or whatever.
Yes, it's me, election integrity, you know, we all.
Yeah, that,
And we are fighting every election, coming up with new ways to try to promote. Integrity, transparency. You know, back in the November election, we found where now we let the district attorney. Open up the scammers that they bring from the polls on election night. The DA actually is the one that unseals them, unlocks them, takes the stick, the V drive out of it. And she's the one that enters it into the tabulation machine. That way, our staff does not touch them at all. So
But there's also witnesses.
there's witnesses and judges. We have a.
And that's the part they're talking about videoing, right? Videoing the whole process of that.
Yes, we have the video in the
The
hallway.
delivery of the election boxes all the way to the point where the drives are counted or downloaded onto the main supervisor.
Actually, this last in November election, presidential election, wore her body cam. That was an extra. Yes, sir.
Do you want to answer, would you like to answer a question I get, like a complaint? Or is this like, not the time to do that? I'm just curious.
I'm open. Yeah.
So on my election and Bobby's, the runoff, and even before that, the primary, it was like 11 o'clock before we had tabulations, and people were curious why it took so long to tabulate those elections. It was real late, wasn't it, Bobby? Like pretty late.
Too much happened and I don't remember.
That runoff, that was the night that we.
Well, we had
Yeah,
storm that night, but even before that, even in the primary, the regular primary, not the runoff, it seemed like it was pretty late before it got resolved. It's like our last, go ahead.
It wasn't new.
I was at a principal.
It too sense, because so many people working, sometimes new people. They arrived without their paperwork done, and I had to step over to the side. And tally their numbers and, sign off on every piece of paperwork.
I
The
believe the
state,
specific one you're talking about, we had one precinct or one polling location that didn't get here till 10 o'clock.
and listen, so. What's happened is the state was here one time and people were checking in, judges were coming in. And checking in and didn't have all their paperwork together. And what happens is that next day, after y'all think everything is said and done. It's not, because we have a lot of reporting to do to the state. Okay, by 11 o'clock that next day, Shannon has had certain things in and done. The paperwork is not completed, and then that's left to us. They don't remember, you're trying to call them, no one knows, I don't remember, they don't answer the call. So the state told me, she said, okay, here's what you need to do. You know, put their feet to the fire. Do not let them check in if their numbers don't match, if their calculation doesn't, it's this number of voters and this is what they have in the machine, or if it doesn't match, put them at the homework table over here. So I implemented that the night she said it. And so we had people in the kitchen table, working, we had some at the side table working. And that's the whole thing, is that if the judges and alternate judges are not working together and getting their numbers together before they ever leave the polling location. That should all be done there, ready to go. When they check in, all their stuff needs to be together, their paperwork should match whatever's gonna be on the machine. Period. That's what the holdup is. So I can't give you numbers until they check in and everything is good to go.
And we're only allowing one, the polling location into the precinct, into the courthouse at a time.
But they have to have their stuff together before they come into
Yeah.
the courthouse.
They
And
need
and
to, but a lot of
have-
times they don't.
Yeah, if they don't, they go to, like Susan said, the homework table.
So what is the answer to that? Like, how do we?
Training, and it's not mandatory. The training is not mandatory. We have judge, it should be, but it's not. And you have some judges that,
Because there's not funding
And
for
that's,
it, or-
that's the other thing, training is not paid for either. We don't pay the individual to get the training.
should we?
and we would
Well,
have to pay for that.
I think,
and that would
I
be
think by law you should.
not in the budget.
We can add it to the budget. I would love to do that.
Our judges would love to train.
I think it's.
Yeah.
Well, I think elections are so important like
I
that.
agree.
I mean, I don't see how we. My personal opinion is, and I have one. Is that, it's imperative that we do. Like,
Work up a training cost for election judges for
Well, it has to be judges and clerks. I mean, both. You have to do both.
now, do they still have the online training? The online training is kind of worthless
For the
because
state, yeah.
they're trying to accommodate multiple different election equipment and so you waste your time learning something that you don't actually use, but yeah, but even if they do have that, we need to put some training dollars in there to pay for this, to help encourage, if nothing else. But
The new elections are so
you can't prohibit them from doing an election job because they haven't been trained, because we don't have anybody else to do it.
Yeah.
Is the bottom line. Yes, sir.
So some of the things that also take place on election night, we get advisories from the Secretary of State that says, all of a sudden, you're now going to do this report. We may not find out about that report until the day of the election. And then the judge is working the center down, it's not this board. They get the advisory and they're trying to run through their books really quick, and they don't want to miss anything because they're responsible to the Secretary of State. And they're gonna hold election officials, in this case, speak to the fire at the same time. They're like, where does the law come from? And it can take hours to work it out. The law still has to be fulfilled, part of election integrity, but it's something we've never conceived of. And it does add to the hours. Sometimes we're out here at midnight, we're back the next day to try and finish it up. The Secretary of State, one time, didn't even allow us to get past that. They said we had to do the report. My vote was to move the report the next day. Even though it was my daughter who was the judge, I was about to tell her that I'm going home. You
We
will
were
stay.
here till 2 then.
Yeah, it's like
We were here till 2 that morning. So.
And then we're back here by 7:30.
Yeah, the complaint I get from the public is, how can Smith County have theirs in? But all the other counties have theirs in and we don't have ours in. And I don't know how to
Have
answer
a massive training.
that. Okay.
Okay, I know Michelle over there and
And they're countywide, so they don't have as many polling locations. I think they had 78.
I think we have our answer then, right? It's pretty clear, administrator, less polling locations and more training.
But we can only do that one step at a time. Probably administrator this year and then.
And training.
next year,
I mean,
and training.
We do offer training.
we did.
And also in their packs, the training packs, plus what I call the pizza box, which is their election supply kit. I have a sample of every single form that is in that box
And we
and
highlight,
how it's filled out. I mean, they have that sample and still we have problems on election night. But they don't get to check in until all of their forms are done now. So that has slowed it down and only allowing one polling location in the courthouse at a time does slow it down, but it keeps it from getting chaotic.
and loud.
And
It's so
loud.
Loud.
Yeah, it's loud, it's chaotic. When you have one person at this table, you have three people over here. And then you it's so much chaos that you just can't determine who's done what.
Would more room help? Would more
Absolutely.
space?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And more sound.
Yes.
That whole.
It's so bad.
Perfect.
And I'm hearing impaired. And so I have hearing aids. And whenever it's all echoing down there, I can't hear a thing because all I hear is a roar. So they finally moved the tabulation thing to the other end of the hall so we could concentrate. But still, it's still crazy.
I'll feel for you. They all think I'm hearing impaired too.
Delaney, go.
I am on this side, just on this side.
We got plans.
Okay.
Let's move on, Judge.
Okay, so,
Move on, Judge.
what else? Anything else that you wanna talk about on the line items that, are going to change?
So the poll test, we do want to discuss that.
Okay, well, and that's what we're applying for a habit grant, right?
Correct,
For Poll
yeah.
pads.
I believe I don't have the exact. All right, the poll pads are 45,650. That's for 40 poll pads. We currently have 38, so we decided to get 2 additional pads. So we would have extra for early voting.
Now, are these iPads or are these, different?
They are iPads.
They are iPad, and they're coming from Hart, right?
They're coming from Hart, knowing is the
Okay,
vendor. What these poll pads do, they have a steel stand. What we have now is what we call the sunflower. It's plastic, screw comes out of it, so it doesn't work out the fire. We've had to go to Ace and buy extra screws for those things. But what this does, it has a steel case, the printer is inside that steel case. The iPad sits on top and it will flip instead of twist.
mhm.
So butter or the judge does their thing, flips it. It stays attached the whole time, so it's just one cohesive unit.
What line item is that under?
That's gonna be under our election equipment purchase.
That's the poll pads?
Yes, sir.
We're gonna answer my next question. What's the next one? What's
And then we will apply for the grant, so hopefully we get that.
the capital expenditures?
That is the total of that in office equipment.
Oh, that's the total.
So, and how do you handle that in curbside service?
Curbside, right now, we take the iPad out to the car,
And it will detach, okay, and not be a problem, okay?
yes. And then when they come back in, we print the ticket.
Mhm.
We can't get it to print while we're outside.
Okay,
Is your hotspot in somewhere to?
The hotspots, it's just the data we have to pull out.
Okay.
Yes, that is, I've got that under maintenance and service contracts.
So it's not gonna matter for your special election stuff?
No. No.
well, this is E,
Goes back over my budget. You just. I
52,000
thought it was
plus
gonna
the-
get out like your elections. That's the only reason I said-
28,000, 52,000.
I put that under maintenance and service contracts as a data plan.
So
And
Shannon,
I
on your,
budgeted 5,000.
on the personnel costs, you're going for 40, I mean, that's a big old jump. To add one employee. How you-
We didn't have anybody.
Yeah, we didn't have anybody on there at that time, so it would be the salary, what I did on the salary for the EAs. is I took the surrounding counties or the counties in the state that have a similar population, similar registered voters. Took the highest payoff, the lowest payoff, and then I averaged the rest of them. It came out to $58,113.
And you did that with what county, with what counties? And then the extra help would be the girl that you're giving.
Yeah. Yes. That's the same.
The extra help is actually all of the election workers.
Part-time.
Oh, yeah. That's
okay.
right. Everybody working election.
The salary, let's see, I used Navarro, Anderson, Maverick, Hardin, Waller, Nacogdoches, Starr, Hood, San Patricio, and Harrison.
Okay, so you did the same thing we did with salary structure. You use counties like us, not Kaufman, Smith, Dallas.
Correct.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Wood County has fewer registered voters than we do, fewer smaller population. Their EA is paid almost 70,000.
What county?
Would. So, I ran it two different ways, one based on registered voters and one based on population. I used the same formula, taking the highest off and the lowest off. and
You got that paper?
I do.
Can I have it or?
Susan, Susan, a question that is she currently an employee in your department
Yeah.
for this year?
Yes.
And so some of that will be a reduction off of your budget.
Two employees.
Come on.
So it's not like a huge bump in the budget. It's a shift.
Right.
How much will that reflect in your budget?
The numbers will be off of my budget. In fact,
So basically that
I think on my other budget, I may have
hundred
either
twenty,
forgotten to take off the one clerk, so it'll be less 40 on.
So a lot of your miscellaneous pay.
It should be. If you
It's
look at,
coming.
I can't.
Here we go.
it should be on
I know.
Take some glasses.
yeah, I think the 202 is correct, actually.
You have your shit.
It is, well, it's only 43,000 more than this.
Did you read that, Shannon?
Do I?
You could read that?
She probably printed it on. legal.
I've got,
She's got big glasses.
I don't even have to use my bifocals on this. But I just can't hear. I can see fairly well.
Okay. Who's top? Oh, we've already moved on.
Well, I think we were just comparing the numbers, so hold on, just with that.
Well, I'm gonna make a suggestion. On the salary that you had projected. You have San Patricio's paying 111,000.
Correct.
The way, and I'm not saying this is the right way, this is the way I did it. I took out the low and I took out the high.
And that's what I did.
And the 111 was not the low, the high.
Yeah, 111 was the high.
Yeah, you said that earlier, right? That's how you averaged it.
Yeah.
This is all the numbers, but it's not those that she's taking out on the high and low, right? Is that what you're
Correct.
meaning?
Yes, and then that's what I put down at the bottom. Total minus highest and lowest salaries. And what that came out to, which was $464,902. And I divided that by, I believe there's 8 there. Yeah, there's 10 counties, so I divided it by 8 after taking the highest and the lowest out.
We're gonna come up with a bid.
Okay, so
I'm
I
gonna
think
come up
on
with a
my
whole
number, I
different
took out
number.
Shannon, but didn't take out Debbie, so she's at 40.
Total budget for San Patricia's. Yes.
I'm coming up. With the numbers you gave me here. I took out the 111,000
Uh-huh.
and I took out the Maverick County, I got it marked out, I can't see what the number was, it was the lowest.
Okay,
And then I added those 8 up. Which came out to $464,902. I divided it by 8,
correct.
I got 58,112.
That's
Okay.
what's on the
You said
sheet.
58,113.
Yeah, it's $1. It's a $1 difference.
Well, how come it was 9?
We're going with his number.
Oh, that's
We're going-
actually the other employee that says to the transfer.
Oh, okay, alright, well.
That's the two combined.
Okay. Alright, so we're way off here.
I mean, sure, I would love the whole thing, but that's not
I
right.
looked at that, I was like, that's kinda high. I'm with you now, it's 2 employees.
Yes,
Okay.
Okay,
and that's
so-
based on Susan's deputy right now. Based on a 3% raise, I don't know if any raises are coming, but that's what I based that second salary on.
Sorry,
You're
my
fine.
mistake.
Well, that's why I was like, you looking at it.
Hey, you put me on my toes.
All right, what else do you got? You want, Susan, you wanna go over yours right there, that's up on the screen?
Yes. It is. Okay, so this one here, I think that 202. I took out Shannon's salary, but didn't take out Sebby's, so that would be another minus. I've got $39,375, because that's in the other budget.
So line number 103, or your salaries of employees would be reduced by 39,000.
Yes.
Just one's going to the EA.
Right.
That's not yet.
And these changes need to be forwarded to Nicole to
Yeah.
put in the deal, if you would. And when you get the training amount, that needs to be added.
Do what?
When you get the training dollars for the election judges,
Mhm.
we need to add that to your
Okay,
budget too.
And that would go under the other
This is
expenses,
coming.
other election expenses.
Yes,
About the EA.
yes, yes.
yeah.
Sorry, I see. No, no.
You want to leave?
Thank you.
Can't believe you want to leave.
Okay,
Okay, so, let's see here, where it says comp time, $7,000 there, and it says year to date 0. I don't think that's correct, so I'm gonna double check with that, because I know they've taken out some of that. Because some of my girls have reached over the 40 or whatever on the books. So it's showing that I haven't used any, I know that they have,
Is this the same sheet from April?
yes,
Okay.
so I think so. Anyways, okay, so office supplies, I just kept it the same. Postage, I went down to 3,000. We might be able to save more than that, just because we're e-recording and a lot more title companies are coming on board with that. We only use 2 different companies. We could use a lot more companies, but that makes, our job a lot more difficult when it comes to the bank statement. So we're gonna keep it at 2 companies for now. Maybe next year we'll up it to another company. Let's see. Scanning the $4,500 there. I'm keeping that there. If you notice, last year in 2024, it showed 42.44, but this year it shows 21.22. I think when, and I'm not sure, I'll need to talk to Michelle, they changed line items whenever I send bills downstairs. They changed one of the numbers or something, and I think that's why that number is different. They told me I was either coding it incorrectly or they were coding it incorrectly, I'm not sure, so I'm leaving that the same just in case there's a mistake there. Training, I went ahead, I put it 5,500, but I'm gonna go back and change that back to 4,500. And the reason is that we moved one of our training classes to one of my other budget line items, and you'll see that in a minute, so. I'm making a change back to 4,500.
Okay.
500 on the subscription. The bonding 525. I don't think that I need that, but Cindy always made me put it on there. But I don't think I need a bond on anything this year. Do you know, Judge?
No,
Because usually.
it's a 4-year,
they've
elected
already-
officials,
they
it's a
usually
4-year bond.
And my staff is bonded under that bond.
She said something the other day, yesterday, Judge, that if they handle money, it's different.
No, I checked with Christie,
Yeah.
every elected official is
So
a
we
4-year
can pay on
bond.
that.
There's new compounds, the same, this will happen, so.
I know, and I don't think that's correct.
Maybe it's showing up under elections.
Listen, and I think that might be it.
So,
I'm not kidding. I think that's what's happening.
all right, what's that 25,000 down on the bottom? I can't tell. Oh, that's the
That's
total,
scanning.
that's the total, or is it
No, that's scanning.
scanning? Okay,
Mhm.
So, those are gonna train.
Do it.
She did spend more than 45. She got 45, 34, but. On training so far this year,
So far this year.
yes.
Oh, that's probably because she just put something in. Okay. You said 45 what?
45, 34, but.
Okay, so let's look at that then. Well, I think it's because LGF is in there. What it is, and we moved that to a different line. Okay, so. I think everything else looks like it should.
okay,
Scroll it up.
scroll it up. Oh, I'm waiting for you to get it done.
Why?
Hold on, I gotta get my,
I think I see where you're, the Sabita scan, that's probably what you're talking about.
right here.
Cause that's contract service. Through 5 houses,
Yes. Mhm.
that may be why they moved that from 407 down.
You think that's why they moved that there?
If that's under that Sabita contract. They have to make sure.
Well, because I've noticed Tower Technologies, when we call them, they charged us for the phone call. And they don't always do that, so I don't know why that happened. Yeah, so we'll look.
Okay. So are we good?
I think so, yes, sir.
Okay. All right, anything else? Any other questions? Yes, sir.
So, Commissioner Court knows on the EA side. We're the board that does the hiring and the firing. It takes 3 of the board members to agree to hire. It takes 4 of us to agree to fire.
Okay, when you say the board, that's the
Yeah.
board we previously discussed. Okay.
Commissioner's Court.
4 to hire, 5 to fire. Is that what you said?
Hire.
3 to hire. Okay.
So Commissioner's Court does not really have a influence outside the judge
Right.
on the EA. And
Yeah.
as an employee, would still fall under your normal directions, Commissioner's Court and
Right.
HR. But that is one of the things about an EA that's always made me very hesitant. It's almost impossible to get rid of an EA for not doing the job.
Right.
Like my elected officials, you don't show up for work. I can't get rid of them.
Okay. Thank you, sir. All right. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Susan.
We're gonna take a 5-minute break.
What's
Is
next?
that kind of, the fund spots? That's, okay, within that bank.
Yes. Yes, that would be better, because again, you're, oh, okay.
Brutal.
So we need to.
We'll figure it out. I wonder, county government moves to. They're not backwards. But it goes under.
If people want 50% are happy with it, 50% ain't.
Get 50%.
That's true.
Thank you. Yeah. So I gotta go.
Thanks, Shannon.
Thank you.
I will be right back.
So the commissioners can appoint an election administrator, but we can't fire.
Commissioners not on the board,
The board.
the election board. Election board.
Three to hire, four to fire.
Election board.
Three to hire, four to fire. Why did you say that for?
Well, I was trying to, you guys, attention, but it's, you guys are in a hard spot. No. I would like to wait a little longer on the EA. My opinion is, I think that's one of these commissioners, you know, there's probably the. I don't think the assumption of it just necessarily be should. Is county chairman, I'm saying, plus, you guys, the only responsibility, you guys feel shy of this. After that, you guys are pretty much toast.
That's toast then, what do you?
Well, it's gonna have to happen.
Think to it. As commissioners, the only input can come down to.
I think that'd be, it's like the superintendent of schools. You know, you got a board and no one can fire him and. Better have a good board that's got some, you know, when it's time, if something happens, they better have some.
Yeah, but school boards, I don't think this bar is set as high.
Yeah.
Possibly the hiring and firing department gets into the.
How many's on a board?
There's five.
There's 5, so you gotta have 80%. 80% to fire.
And who's all on the board right now?
So, Judge, Susan, Misty, and my counterpart.
And Shannon comes to work at the hose maker, that she can store. She's a worker. If she has to take care of her mom, then when you come and go, she reaches or she's died or a doctor's appointment or something. That when you saw, she'll please, she's here late, she's here. If you check her time, she was here early.
I don't think you have a problem with that. Say if the auditor was off that. And you're on the board. Oh, you gotta, just like you'd have to get 4 out of 5 of us.
And-
Whereas here it's 3 out of 5.
That's the one thing. Removing or helping, she's still in the company. That's all working.
We better find some money to train them.
Yeah.
So we don't lose confidence in the voters.
I think it's just like everything else. We have to start planning for the future. We got to have a plan.
Yeah.
We work very well together.
What's happening in this chair every time it brings that up is where we should have started. I've never been against what we've been talking about. Presented to the place, we did not bow to
We
burden.
never had the opportunity to do that. And
You guys don't know, as Paul Michael built.
Still.
Sorry,
You guys move into like Paul Michael building.
sure,
That'll help a lot.
that's right. We just did not bring the public along with us. That's where the problem was.
we got to vote on it.
So
It's tomorrow.
Yeah, or Tuesday.
What are we voting on Tuesday?
Check.
Yeah, we're probably.
Yeah.
Probably, it's okay, that. Say.
Right.
I haven't said anything, I wish I hadn't said something bad.
So. Shannon, you fine? There's some commissioners. Yeah.
Yeah, there has to be some kind of protocol in that. Okay.
I would have Shannon here sometime.
Do it way. Do it in a way that they.
Want to get out of the county.
Yeah, move more from 41,000 vote registered voters.
That's, above 100,000.
What do you think caused that? Just the dissension in as far as like people just being so dissatisfied that they decided to stand up? Or-
Well, there was,
I mean, I know the
there
population
was-
has increased.
there was a big push or a big surge in the 2016 election or 15 election.
Correct.
That's when it started. So.
Donald Trump.
Mhm.
Yep.
Is it gonna be famous?
Look, when that election, Donald Trump, the only county that did not report on time was Zandt County. We get reported the next day because we had to still go back through all the writing notice. We want to get that, we know the whole report, so we hired the state map for Zandt County as a month.
Yeah.
So it wasn't one of my better nights.
We were 254, number 254.
So you think if we train more though, it would clean it up? Like you
Yeah.
think it would clean up your problems?
Yeah, we ran low on ballots.
So what do you think that just a number out of the air, what do you think it costs to do that training?
Well, you're gonna do it right, it's gonna be 6 per voting box. The people, and then how many hours training you guys want to provide? It's
What
gonna
do you
take
think
a
you
lot.
need?
Jackie, we'll let you talk.
It can be done in half
You
a
want to be
day.
seated,
It can be
sit
done
there,
in half a
answer,
day.
Say something, right?
Yeah.
Went to a meeting last night.
I would like to have a
They
number,
had to get
something else.
information on the
What do
water.
you think is
Jackie was
sufficient?
back to us.
I'll tell you, maybe.
I can't shut up. I gotta spot up. Jackie, just sit up.
Just see that, just information.
Now, where are you out on now?
That little.
Welcome to our world.
Yeah, I know.
Makes you just want to tear your hair out.
Well, you know how frustrating I
Pay the
feel.
judges? What are we paying?
Yeah, I would get
What are we paying the people in training?
12.
People about it. What's
going on?
12.
And if they don't care until they all of a sudden start.
Times 6 times 12 times 6, 18 times 6.
You can have a number here in a few minutes.
Oh, we're all here? We're here. All right.
Thank you, sir.
Lance, you may want to hang around for this. This
This.
It's gonna be water. It's very fascinating. All right, you're up, Jackie. You want to introduce yourself to those who don't.
Let me give you a little bit of background. I'm Jackie Reisner, I'm born and raised here. Taught school, ag here for a while. And then decided on a career being a county agricultural extension agent, and I did that for 30 years. The last several years of that, the last couple of years was in Grayson County, and for 18 years before that, Nacogdoches County, and then Casey County prior to that. When I was an agent in Nacogdoches County in 1997, I got a notice about a meeting that was going to be at Texas A&M about water. And I always kind of had an interest in water since I went down the road with my dad out north of Edgewood to a neighbor's house when I was about 8 years old and watched a lady witch for water where they dug a well, hand dug well. And so it always kind of amazed me. And so I went to that meeting. I came back and I talked to the county judge when I got back. I said, Judge, I found out some things that were really disturbing. I said, there's some things I think that you and the court need to know. So I told them what I found out. And that inspired them to start the process there of getting involved in being a groundwater conservation district. Took them about 6 years because they tried to do several counties, and you know, when you try to get a whole bunch of counties together, be able to agree on something. But anyway,
Good luck.
they wound up doing it with just 2 counties. But anyway, neither here nor there. And after I retired, I worked for an ag equipment company, several different things through the years, and then I was involved in doing a lot of education, both in Grayson County and Nacogdoches County, about GCDs and what they were for the folks. And they hired a guy, and he worked they established their district in 2001. 2001 too. Anyway, he retired, and the board asked me if I would take over his job as general manager of the groundwater district. So I did that for 8 years before I quit that job when I moved back here 6 years ago to have to take care of my parents.
And now you got the
So,
greatest job in the world.
I'm sorry,
And now you got the greatest job in the world.
I do. Nobody bothers me out there. But anyway, so I have been, and I'm not kind of like when I worked for Groundwater District or Extension, I started every program that I did off, well, I'm from the government, and I'm here to help. And that scared the hell out of everybody, you know, right off the bat, but anyway, I'm not here to convince you of anything. I'm here to, was asked to come here today, to provide you with some information, and some education, because yeah, I'm in a unique position, I guess, being here in that I know a lot of these answers that maybe that you probably want to know. So I thought maybe we might just keep it very, very, informal. And I know y'all talked some about this yesterday. And I thought I might see if there's any questions might have about the current situation. And then I'll move in. Oh, before I forget, I'm gonna be doing a program. I've done a lot of these for county commissioners courts around through the years. And we're looking into it in other counties. And the Republican women asked me if I would do a presentation for the public at their meeting on July the 14th. I don't know where it's gonna be yet, because there's been so much interest in trying to find a bigger and bigger place. That accommodate everybody that wants to come. But anyway, Brenda and I visited a little bit yesterday, and he had some, if y'all have some thought, we might do that first. If you have any specific questions about the Anderson and Henderson County, Houston County issue.
Is it your opinion that, the Wilcox Carrizo that they're talking about, these commercial wells down there could possibly be a different strata than where we draw our water from here, the Wilcox?
No, it runs from Arkansas to Texas. The Carrizo Wilcox Aquifer, it's a long. Now, some of the hydrologists that I work with down there are of the opinion that that's one aquifer, that they're connected. But they're overlay each other at different depths, but they're connected in places and it's all one aquifer, but officially they're two separate. And you'll see on the map, and I regret that I didn't bring my PowerPoint.
I'll find one.
I'm sorry.
I'll get one up there in just a second.
Okay. You'll see, the colored areas and where they overlap, and then there's an area called the Wilcox outcrop and the Carrizo outcrop on either side where they don't overlap. And so they call them outcrops because it's a part of it that doesn't overlap, but sometimes I'll just think they're all one up.
And Van Zandt County is predominantly Wilcox outcrop?
Yes.
And the Wilcox outcrop that we're in here recharges with the rainwater that we get, regularly?
Very, very slow. Very, very slowly. Most of the recharge from this is in Arkansas.
So the recharge for this is north of us, and south of us is water under the bridge, so to speak.
And this water moves, but it moves very slow.
Because of porosity.
Yes. And you understand that what an aquifer is, in this case, all that is saturated sand with water.
Yeah. And so from what I was understanding that he was saying yesterday is it's unlikely that commercial wells to the south of us in the Carrizo Wilcox will substantially impact us here in Van Zandt County, where we're up dip of him, and we're somewhat in different sand.
Let me give you an instance of what's going on in Texas right now, and everybody knows where Williamson County is. You know where Bell County is, just to the north.
Williamson's Georgetown, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Williamson County is not a groundwater conservation district. Bell County is, so the Clearwater groundwater conservation district. They're charged as a district in making sure that they model and see how much groundwater is there. They're charged by the state to make a plan every 5 years that will make that water last for 50 years. That's a 50-year plan. And they do so. They can do so if their results say we're going to run out of water in 10 years, they can cut back on water usage. Okay. Williamson County does not. There's 17 rock pits in Williamson County, plus all the growth they've had from all the building that's going on. the rural water systems in the cities, they grew so fast, they didn't want them. So what they did, these developers built these neighborhoods, they developed their own water systems and sewer systems, turned them over to the homeowners association, which is a wreck down the road. Because those people didn't realize they're responsible for paying for anything that had to be done to it. But anyway, so they're using a lot of water. Enough so that they affected the southern half of Bell County. A lot of people with private water wells, they had to, if they could afford to go deeper, they did, if not, didn't. It's so, yeah, but this is probably the closest one to us is gonna be between Frankston and Coffee City. Could it possibly the lower part of our county, but not likely? You should be more worried about the next field where it's gonna be, not necessarily what this field is gonna have an effect on. And this is a paper that a young lady did for college that I helped her do. And this is kind of a little general thing, and it talks about the Bell County thing. Well, she's from Bell County. And it's just kind of a little point of reference. About some of that stuff. It's pretty general. She got one thing wrong in there. She didn't let me proofread it, but it's pretty not a big deal. Were y'all anybody on it? I don't know. But to answer your question, it's highly unlikely. I wouldn't worry about the well field. I'd worry about where the next well field is. And this young lady, Kelly, is going to be making a presentation, using the PowerPoint I put together at the Lions Club meeting sometime in the near future. As soon as the program later.
Where do you think the next one's gonna be?
There's no way to know. This is not new. This has been, I mean, this has been going on right down in here for a long time.
This being, high capacity wells pumping out.
Yeah, selling water.
Okay.
Yeah, companies investing in high capacity wells, well fields and stuff. Now, this has been going on for a long, long time down here. Since back around probably 2012 before. So this has already been lived. This groundwater district down here is just fees and permits. They have no money. They can't get a lawyer. They can't fight anything.
So what's the point of having a groundwater conservation district if it can't protect the aquifer?
Well, you can.
Well, they're not protecting it. They could have shut it down the other day at the board meeting and
They can't. You can't. They're gonna issue those permits. They, by law, they have.
so they issue a permit. So if I'm in that groundwater conservation district and I want to drill a well, do I have to go through that board to drill a well?
Yes.
And they have to permit me?
Yes, but
And I have to
they
pay
can-
for the, and I have to pay for the permit?
Well, it depends. Their fees and permits funded. That's not a good way to do it. The district I was in was fee and permit funded. Russ County has a single county district, Panola County has a single county district, they're the closest to us. They're tax based. So they're about.
Where does the money come from? Where's it gonna come? It comes from the taxpayer somewhere, right?
Yeah,
At the end of the day, the taxpayer has to pay for that.
yeah.
For the groundwater conservation district that can't stop the wells from coming out. That's gonna permit.
They can't stop them because it's a shared resource. This water is not out.
But they can control them. They can control them. They can limit the amount of water.
Root capture, use the water as long as you're not wasting. And everybody's definition of waste is a little bit different. Now, in my groundwater district, I had some people with a lot of money who built a 15, 20 acre lake. They dug a big well just to keep water in the lakes during the drought so it wouldn't get low. Is that a valid and good use? I didn't think so, but my board did. So, and your board is local people. They're either elected or appointed, depending on how you're funded. We can get into that more later. You can't prevent it because they have the right to the water just as much. as
If they own,
anybody else.
if they own the land.
No, you don't have to own the land. You can sever water rights, just like oil and gas rights.
Okay.
And my understanding, what I've been able to find out is they've already sold the property and kept the water rights.
So they're saying they're proposing 15 billion gallons a year.
I have seen their application and their permit, something in that neighborhood, yeah,
Do you think that that would cause a cavitation if they pump that much?
right around there, right around close, yes. But that one part in the southwest part of Anderson County along the Trinity River and the ones that are over into Houston County. Now, they do what they want to in Houston County because Houston County's not the groundwater.
Do you think it's possible to pump that much water out of the Wilcox?
Yeah,
You think you could pump that much? Yesterday, we were told it probably, it's a different type of aquifer than the aquifer that's down there. The Wilcox and the
well, all these,
Aliso are different. They're different in the way that the stratus is underground.
all those wells are not gonna be in the Wilcox. Some are gonna be in the Queen City Aquifer. I have the list, but Queen City's the one under.
How do we know what's possible? Who knows it? Who knows? What government entity knows how much you can possibly drill out of that, pump out of that, and it not cause cavitation, or who knows? What government entity is supposed to protect that?
Texas Water Building,
Who?
Texas Water Development. They oversee railroad to some degree.
You know, and I would add this one caveat here is that the entire idea behind this water business is the same idea behind the oil and gas business. An oil and gas company goes out and drills a $7 or $8 million well, and that well doesn't produce at its optimal, then the oil and gas company is the one that has lost their $7 or $8 million. So yes, it does serve, and there have been oil and gas cases where a company has damaged a formation and they've been sued by other companies that have the right to drill into that formation in that particular regional area. So the water company, I don't think they're going to act irresponsibly in their production of water past capacity. If they damage the water formation, then that is possible for them to be for a suit to be filed against them for their negligence.
It still won't bring back that water table if it already does damage though.
Let me finish that thought, and then maybe you'll understand. They are going to issue the permits. Now, they took the Wolf way out. They went through SOLA. And SOLA's gonna tell them they have to issue the permits.
Who is SOLA?
I'm sorry.
Who is SOLA?
SOAH, it's an organization for the government, it's kind of like an arbitration deal.
Okay.
I forget exactly what
I
they
don't
said
remember,
last
I
night.
can't remember what they said.
But, and so the board can say, SOA made us do this. So they whip it out, but they know they have to do it. Okay. Once they're there, what you can do. And now, if they go in there and they pump that much water and it doesn't have any effect on anybody. Everything's fine. If they have an effect on anybody else's rights to use water out of that aquifer in that area, then you can come back and cut their permit back on how much they pump. And you do that by putting down site wells or static wells around them about a quarter of a mile out from their well field. And every year you measure the water in their water table. You go there because it's not being pumped, so it's stable as far as what the water table is. I had them in my district. I go out every year measuring them. So I can see what the water table is.
Who pays for that?
The district does.
But you gotta be part of the water district for that to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, that's, and this is if you're a well-managed district. I'm not gonna tell you every district did it, but I know what you should do. And that's what I did. And then you measure it, if the table's dropping, then you've got something to work with. You say, well, look, you're dropping this too fast. It's not gonna meet their 50-year plans. We're to cut back on what you can do. But they have the right to use that water. Just like you and I have the right to use water here or anywhere else. As long as it's not wasted and it's considered to be what really gets me is when you see these people that have the sprinkler systems running in the wintertime. Or when it's raining, now that's wasted water, okay? But these cities are not real good about that. I got off track, but anyway, this is why if you're in a groundwater district, you have somewhere to go. If you're not in a groundwater district, you got no kind of stuff.
So do you think Van Zandt County should look heavily into
I'm
joining
not
the
gonna
water
say
district?
that, I'm hoping that after I give you some information, you'll be able to make a decision about that. But it's not your decision. It is in that usually the county commissioners for the lead, but you got to sell the other cities. And the mayors and the councils. And you would have to have a massive education campaign.
So what would because yesterday we were told we shouldn't join the water district.
To give a reason?
No, not that I recall.
Honestly, I've never seen a well driller yet that one.
Okay, and then what are the advantages? what are the advantages and disadvantages to joining a water district?
Well, the disadvantages are that.
Creating a water district in our case.
Yeah,
creating one.
you have no say. I mean, in the wells in Houston County, they can do, if it affects somebody there, tough.
Just the courts, that's the only place that's just.
Well, that's won't even work in the courts. That's already been litigated too. What happened in Henderson County? Henderson County had a chance to join the Nature's Trinity. They were approached. They chose not to do so. When Ozarka put their plant in and they affected everybody's wells out around them, all of a sudden they went and joined. So that they had something they could do. Because if you don't, there's nothing you can do.
So how much did that affect them over there when Ozarka started pumping on? Is that
The-
on, is that on
the general
1861? That's on 1861.
Yeah, the general manager that was at Nature's Trinity at the time was the guy that retired from ours, and he didn't like retirement, so he went back to work for him, Joanne. He didn't tell me how many wells. He just told me that, he called and told me that, well, Henderson County changed their mind. They approached us about joining, the district after we had approached them about it to start with. And he told me what the effect was and that some people's wells had been affected over there.
I wonder what
How
it costs.
many, I don't know.
I wonder what it costs the average taxpayer in those counties to be on that, to have that
Have one.
district.
It depends. If you're fee and permit based. To drill a well, there's a fee, you have to come in file, because there's several reasons why. You need to go out, there's spacing requirements. If you say you live in a neighborhood, 2 acre lot, okay? And somebody wanted to come on this lot and you've got a 4 inch well, a homeowner well, which is typically set up, people producing less than 25,000 gallons a minute, okay? That's typical homeowner.
25 gallons a minute.
I'm sorry,
How many a minute?
25.
25.
Anything over that is going, what we call a non-exempt well. And that cost a little more to drill, but we're fee based. Remember the term fee based. So we charge for that. And right across on this next lot, he puts in a bigger well and he pumps all kinds of water for a swimming pool and sprinkler systems and whatever, and it affects your well. Well, but because the spacing requirements depend on the size of that well, maybe his lot's not big enough to be far enough away for that size well. So his choice then is not drill a well because he doesn't meet our requirements or rules, or he can go back and just drill a 25,000 gallon well. So that's where.
So that's-
restricted help.
So that you permit, so basically what they do is the board permits the horsepower, the amount, the size of the pump or what they're,
Well,
what
as long as you don't affect anybody else, you can do what you want to.
it just gives the homeowner recourse.
Yes, yes, it gives somebody recourse.
How do they regulate that? It's basically regulated by, if my water pressure drops, I have recourse as a landowner.
Well, no, I mean, why did it drop? Got to determine that.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, like, how do you, if you have that board overseeing it, then you have some recourse.
Yeah, yeah, if somebody does something to affect you, then yes, you have some recourse.
And what you told me yesterday. And I didn't understand it all. You had the fee and permits and you also said an ad valorem tax of like a cent.
Well, you're one or the other. If your fees and permits, okay, I didn't get to finish. Every water using entity, every rural water system, every city that has water wells, then pays the district so much per gallon of water used. Our charge was 2.5 cents per 1,000 gallons. That's not much. But it only generated about $350,000 a year between that and the permits. If you dig a big well, then you pay a $200 fee, and in every 5 years to re-permit that well, it's $200. That doesn't generate a lot. So I generated about $350,000. That was our budget. The problem is, I didn't have money for a lawyer, for retainer. I didn't have money for a hydrologist retainer. I had to rely on other things that I kind of, anyway, we'll get into that. But anyway, I could go to court, district court, and get injunctions, because you didn't have to have a lawyer necessarily for that. But I had one guy locally that I could work that would help me with that. There's staff, and you need a minimum of 2, and really you need 3 local staff, plus you need consultants. And then every 5 years, the state makes you do a management plan with the other groundwater districts in your region. Now, there's regions, and I don't have that down. Groundwater management areas, they're called. I think there was 21 counties in our region. This is Nacogdoches. We were the southernmost. It's this group of counties right up in here. But there was only 4 groundwater districts in the 21 counties. Encompassing 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 counties out of 21. We bore the financial burden for all these other counties to do the modeling, water modeling with the hydrologist to see what was there. And then we try to figure out what we're using, so we know how much we got left. So I struggled to come up with my part of $10,000 every 5 years because of it. Right now, the other way, if you're fee-based, your board is appointed, and usually it's by the entities that are paying in the money, the cities, and there'll be somebody representing the rural water systems, be somebody representing your major cities. We were a 2 county, and that's all we generate, not in money. Nature's Trinity's a 3 county, and they don't generate enough money, run it like it needs to. The other option is ad valorem tax. I did not know, we had a group called the Texas Alliance of Groundwater Conservation Districts, which is all the groundwater districts in the state. And we have a meeting every year, and that's where I learned a lot of lawyers there, people telling about things that had happened around the state and legal things that had happened and so forth. So, the other way is, and I don't know of any of them that charge more than $1.50. And there were some of them, some of those groundwater districts had 15, 20 people staff. And had a full-time hydrologist and all this stuff, but that's down in those really water critical areas, you know. Wouldn't require that here on the 3. But a cent, I think we figured last night would generate.
What, 900,000 is my number.
That's about right.
A
That's
cent
about
on
what you
1,000,
do.
a cent on 1,000 gallons.
No, 1 cent,
valorem
you
tax.
had more, you had a cent to tax.
Property taxes.
Yes. That would be enough money to do it for a while. That's all spelled out in your enabling legislation. You have to set that, and you can't change it without going back to the legislature. Whatever you find, wherever you set it up initially. If your tax base, your board is elected, just like a school board. They're all local people. Your board in either case are local people. But if it's tax based, you go through the appraisal district, you know, they collect it for you and do this like y'all do. And then you have an election and you elect your board members, however many that you decide to have.
So the resolution that you want,
I don't have a resolution. What I was,
it wouldn't have any teeth in it. It was just what were we resolved? I mean, what we're resolving that we're against pumping commercially in the aquifer. What was the resolution?
the resolution was officially my next question is, and I'll get to it, Mitch, hold on a second.
I have a lot of questions.
Uh,
A lot.
from the guy yesterday and y'all both agree that luckily for us, still against it, but luckily for us, what is gonna be pumped down there, those 21 wells, is not gonna affect us now.
Really?
But we better get prepared and protect ourselves and do something before they start getting up here. That's where the resolution comes in. that we're
But
gonna
what's
do
under
something.
our feet is not coming from under our feet. It's coming from above us.
But it's moving so slow, Mitch. I mean,
It's 3 feet a year or something like that.
But if we don't do something, and all of a sudden that company comes to Van Zandt County and pumps 21 wells, it is gonna affect us. we have to figure out something to do.
Because if you look at their map, the 2 places where now this is not the first time. There's people that applied for a 21 well field in Anderson County 15 years ago. They got their permit from the board down there. You don't hear them talk about that, but they never did develop it, okay? That never came to fruition because there's 2 things that I would have asked at that board meeting the other day. Number 1 is, who's your end user? They've got an end user, whether they'll admit it or not. They wouldn't be spending all this money if they didn't, okay? And number two is how you gonna move the water. That's what's protected us in the past because of the cost of moving water. That's very expensive. You know what it's like to try to get a pipeline approved?
That's what Danny said yesterday.
Put a pipeline in, I mean, it's cost prohibitive, but they can move it without a pipeline. They can move it for free. All they gotta do is pump it into the Trinity River and pull it out further down.
But I think the point you said earlier is that if somebody owns property and they own the water to tell them that they can't do that. The only thing we could do is like the battery energy storage, where we hold them to the rules and regulations of health, safety, and welfare based on the NFPA fire rules.
But as of right now, if I understand this correctly, we're not under a conservation district right now. So I could go pump me a well and I could pump 20 billion gallons out of there, and you want to gripe about it, well, good, what are you going to do about it? Because we have no backing.
If
Where
it
if we're
has
under a
any-
board
If it has
where they're
any-
regulating it, we have some backbone to say, hey, you better slow down.
Not until those test wells show that whatever you're doing is impacting those around you.
Right, but without a water board, we don't have that at all.
Explain how the water board limits the use of the pumping of water. What is the procedure when they?
Well, they got the test wells. And they try, and anybody around is, a bunch of people are affected around, which they're very, very rural.
Who pays for the test wells?
You can make that in part of their deal, or you can do it yourself. I would actually, if they had the money, I'd rather the district do it themselves, because the district needs to have test wells anyway, because monitor wells. And that would give you those, but that way you can trust the process and maybe not what they might do or might not do, or what they might tell you. And plus they would own them. So I would prefer that the district do it, but, yeah, then once you know they're having effects on a lot of people, ability to use the man, then you can cut back. There's another deal too, if it's in your rules, and I've been out of this for 6 years, I assume this had changed. If it's in your rules or in your enabling legislation, any water that's produced there that leaves the district, not the county, but the district, you can charge an export fee.
Well, let me ask you this as it relates to that. So Brandon's drilled a well that's producing a gajillion gallons per hour.
And you're next door.
And the water district has said, you can't produce 3, you can only produce 1. What teeth does the water district have to make sure that he does reduce from 3 per hour to 1 per hour?
Well, because you've got to put a flow meter on his pump, see what's capable of.
But what if he says, well, you can tell me that I have to limit my production, but I ain't gonna do
Well,
it.
number one, you don't approve it to start with.
Well,
I didn't think
You
you
don't-
could. They just told us they were gonna do it and you said they
No, I
couldn't.
just saying to prove the well, he proved how big the well is and how much it can pump. And that's based on spacing to your neighbors on a lot of
but
different.
what's your teeth? What's the teeth that the board has to say, you can't produce 25 million gallons a day? You
District
know,
court. Get an injunction in district court.
and that's what I mentioned earlier. And you said that all this has already been litigated and you can't
No,
start.
no, I'm talking about the legality of these, well, fields down here. That's been litigated. There's groundwater districts they've affected a long time ago, south of us, that already tried it before and lost.
So you can't tell them they can't put the well in, but you can get an injunction later for health, safety and welfare on some of these other things.
If they're having an effect.
If you can prove the
Yes.
impact.
If they're not, then what's wrong?
And we'd have to be on a water board to be able to do that.
And that's where my question is that if you have 2 equal partners here and you got, and you're next to me and I have the capacity to drill a water well, I have the same ability to go take a case to district court and get a temporary injunction against you because you're negatively impacting my water and and I'm only seeing this from the oil and gas background, as if I
It's
drilled
the
the
same
well,
principle.
yeah, it's the same principle.
I think and I'm not just speaking for all five of us, but I think we all have the same goal in mind. Is that what do we? I want to protect us for this not happening to, so it doesn't affect our water in the future. And what steps do we need to take? And I know I'm not smart enough, but you know, we got some other people in this county that are educated on this. That could help us with it, but what do we need to do to protect ourselves?
If you think the league can do it, I'll be glad to provide you with what help I can, and I can also provide you with some ways to set it up that would be the best way to work. I mean, for the trial and error, I know, and some of the rules that you need to have.
Well, this county tried to, or there was an election about whether or not to join the Natchez Trinity Valley in 2012, I believe it is.
I was aware of that.
You were aware, okay.
It's kind of like everything else.
And it failed. From what my understanding is that property owners were led to believe that the water district could come in and put a meter on their wells, their private wells.
There's
Is that
there's so much misinformation. When Shelby County tried to do this, there was a guy who was a water well driller. He actually spent $25,000 fighting it.
Mm-hmm.
Putting up signs all over the county like an election and so forth. And why, who knows? Other than maybe he thought it was gonna affect his business, I don't know, because TDLR, y'all know what TDLR is, Texas Department of Licensing and Registration. They oversee barbershops, beauty shops. They now do the gas pumps at service stations.
And the Texas Lottery.
And they got all that stuff, okay? A huge conglomeration, what they oversee water well drillers. Water well drillers follow and report to them when they complete a well. The only thing that's gonna change if the water well driller works in a groundwater district, and these guys have had, if they've done any drilling in Henderson County or whatever, you file a different form. And for me, they had to wait, and I asked them to put a stake where the well was gonna be with a name on it, and then tell me where it is. I would usually get there within a day or two, sometimes the same day. And I would take a latitude and longitude so I could mark that in my ArcGIS system where I knew where every well in the county was. And I could know where the property line was, and I could see if it was within the boundaries of the rules for the property line spacing, septic system, so far from the septic system, you know, all the different rules that we had. And then I would approve, and then they tell them, you know, you can start the next day. That there was really no hold up for them, so they couldn't argue that. Now, what they did do is TDLR has one guy in the state of Texas that goes around and checks water well drill. One man. That's up 6 years ago when I quit doing them. But they are under scrutiny from a groundwater district to make sure they do it right. I'm not saying anything about anybody or alluding that water well drillers here are not doing a good job. Don't get me wrong. I'm just telling you there are some that don't. Number one thing I would check is their annular seal. That's at the top of the well, around where the standpipe comes up, okay? You have two choices. Sometimes a district can set a choice and they have to do that. We let them have the choice of the two. You pour a 4-foot, square, concrete header around it, so feet deep. Or you can double sleeve it with a bigger pipe. You've got your 4-inch pipe, you got a bigger pipe, and you concrete around between the two pipes, but you have to go 6 feet deep. You have to put a wadding, whatever they use when they plug something, you go down so deep and then they fill above that, like all gas industry does. Well, I would go check them. I had a long narrow rod. I could go probe and see how deep the concrete went. And a lot of them, you'd be surprised at me guys that cut corners. I mean, they said, we don't want to use 12 bags of sack creek. You know, we just got 6, we'll do that. So and then if they pull enough of those things, we can actually prevent them from drilling in the district because they've not done it right. And they're basically cheating their customers. So we do have some oversight on them. Some of them don't necessarily like that, but I think it's the best for the public. Another thing we do, I told you about the rig supply wells. Another big project that we had, and it was all money driven for us. We couldn't do many old curb wells. These old curb wells are everywhere. There's thousands of them all over Texas. And they're still just sitting there. I know of 2 times in my lifetime, I've known people who walked into them. There was no curb anymore. They covered them over with boards or you know what I'm talking about?
I know where one's at right now.
Yeah. And I've known people that have walked into them, it's covered up with leaves, they didn't know, you know.
My daddy always told me to stay away from it, and I was
Yes.
always over there looking in it.
Uh-huh.
Got
And
one of my plates.
anything on the surface is gonna wind up down in the ground. Those open curb ways. I ran across one guy down there that I went up to his house and he had the end of his septic line running in.
Oh, that's
You would have
brilliant.
believed some of the stuff I've seen. But anyway.
Wouldn't plan on drinking.
Going back to
But
the.
those need to be plugged.
Going back to the meters.
Yes. No meters. I don't know of any district in Texas that puts meters on homeowner wells.
Okay.
Is it because there's an exemption less than a 4-inch or less than 2-inch?
25,000 gallons.
25,000 a minute.
If the well has capacity.
25 gallons a minute, right?
I'm sorry, 25,000 gallons per hour. I'm sorry. No.
Yeah, 6 and 7.
Yeah, I'm
We're
sorry.
talking about a geyser.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the concern is that that's just the signature of a pen to reduce it from 25,000 gallons per hour to 10,000 gallons per hour.
Mhm.
To 8,000.
Well driller could set it up. It
5,000.
has to do with the size of the pump, but he could set it up to do that.
I think that's that's some of the drawback that you'll hear from citizens is that it's just as easy to reduce those numbers from 25,000 to 8,000, 5,000.
Mhm.
Yeah, 1,000. After when you get to 1,000.
I agree with that.
Hardly stays in its lane.
It's like the cities do that now, and in the county, everybody wants to be free, and I agree with that, but what homeowner is using 25,000 gallons an hour? I mean, really,
Well, tree
Now-
farm, you got people with tree farms that are running them straight into a lake somewhere all day long, all night long,
yeah,
you know.
Is that a good and practical use of water?
I mean,
That's for that board to decide.
I've done sprinkler systems where people off their well, they fill up that tank, but the people who do it, got a lot of money. But just to say your typical average Joe is not spending 25,000 gallons an hour.
Okay, here's my final, I think this is my final question today, because I'm very hungry. It's gonna come down to what the people want.
Yes.
You said the commissioner's court leads out in that direction, but then
Yeah,
as far as it comes down to an election,
let me run through that right quick. You decide how you want to set your district up. These rules that I've talked about are set initially by the group of people in the county that are driving this bus, okay? You go to your state legislator and he proposes a bill with these statutes. Now, some of these things are pretty set, you know, but you can adjust this in a lot of ways of what you want to do and how you're going to fund it, what you want your rules to be, all that stuff. And you can even borrow money from Texas Water Development Board to operate for the first year. You know, once you have some collections or you know, for a few years, you pay it off. Then you can do the election before the countywide election, or you can do it after. I prefer doing it after because then the people know exactly what you're gonna do or not gonna do. Because you can tell them.
Who's involved?
What the rules are, yes. There are some counties in Texas, Sabine County, San Augustine County, Shelby County, and the last I heard, Harrison County. They have groundwater districts, according to the state. But they didn't approve the local election,
so we basically make it clear as it can be before they vote.
Yes. And that's why I said it takes a massive education effort. You gotta go to all the community centers, you gotta go to churches, because there'll be so much, y'all heard this, there'll be so much misinformation floating around out there and rumors and stuff that it's, some of the stuff is comical and some of it's not what you'll hear.
And that's the hard part. We gotta educate the people because there's so much on this area right here that's just all baloney. I mean, I didn't know a lot of stuff that was been told 2 days, but you gotta educate them and let them know, hey, this is not affecting us, but if we don't do something, it's going to.
Well, one thing's for sure, the court does not need to be reactionary. We don't need to react to everything without getting information. The public reacts to what they hear. We need to do our due diligence to make sure whatever we come up with and present before them, it's clear. And they know what they're voting on, what it's gonna cost them. If they don't, what it's gonna cost them if they do. How much tax dollars is it gonna cost them? How much regulation is there gonna be? What if we don't, what's the repercussion of that? Those are the things that they need to know. Right?
That all goes.
We don't just need to react because we're afraid somebody's gonna come in and pump a well dry, pump a aquifer dry. We need to know Is that even
You
possible?
gotta have data to back it up.
That's right. We didn't have data.
Leo is.
We haven't had data today.
Huh?
We didn't get really data today. We got.
You got
we didn't get
information.
Yeah, we got information today.
But, and the bottom line is, to create a water district requires legislative action.
Yes.
So you're
You've got
looking,
2 years to the next legislation. If you start right now, you'll be pressed to have it ready by then. Have everybody on board and decide what you want to do and have it bill ready.
Takes a long time to get something done, doesn't it?
Well, it just takes a long time to get people to agree. Because like I said, you gotta get your city people, you gotta get everybody sold on it, then you got to go to the public and sell them.
Something to be learned.
Well, I think the sooner we start, the better, or we're gonna sit there with our hands and our knees. Next thing you know, we're gonna have billionaire coming up here drilling 50 wells, and then, oh, well, y'all didn't do anything about it. Why don't y'all do anything about it?
That's what I was. fixing
Well, we're
to
being
say,
recorded right
is
now. They know.
That
We
we,
got 2 years.
if we sit here and don't do anything at all, we don't have any say at all.
Anything.
But
you have
if we
something-
do something, we still don't have a lot of say.
But you
but you got a little bit.
You got something you can work with.
Yes. So
well,
we just have to decide from there.
there is a push to get the governor to add this particular issue to the special session that call for next month.
But it's not gonna change anything.
No.
I mean, this is not gonna change. Rule of capture and they were saying last night, at the meeting, they want to state do away with the law of rule of capture. That would be a fatal mistake. Texas, they say, is the only state that has a rule of capture law. Well, that's because all the other states, the groundwater belongs to the state. We don't want that.
That's what we're trying to avoid.
Yes, in 1948, the Texas legislature decided we do not want to manage groundwater in Texas. We want it to be done locally. They created the concept of the groundwater conservation district in 1948. The first one was formed in 1942 in the Panhandle, the Ogallala. And then there's over 100 of them now.
Don't look at me.
I don't have them out, but
And then that many was in band last night.
there's 100 districts encompassing 100. Some of these districts are 5 and 6, 7 counties big. You know, so they manage a larger area, but not. But anyway, and there's even a provision in there that, and in the paper part, we had that wrong, that the state can make you. They'll come in and do it for you if it's critical that you need one. The groundwater conservation.
And you said that the city of Van was wanting to do away with that? That's what they were asking?
No, he was talking about doing away with the law of rule in the legislature to change the rule of capture.
That was one.
As it applies to water.
Yes, as it applies to water. And I told you that'd be a fatal.
And that is someone on the city council, or was that someone else?
No, just somebody there, I mean,
Well, the mayor, Ernie said
okay.
that. But, yeah, I mean, if you want to pursue it, I guess your first course of action would be to get all the players together, all the cities, mayors and council people and have a meeting.
What about like the little rural, it's hard for me to say that word, rural water supply corporations? Do they need to be involved? Do we need to have a meeting? Like
Yes.
some kind of something, all the players, that's what you're talking about, all the players,
You
cities.
need to go to them with what you plan to do and how you're gonna do it, but you gotta make some decisions and let them know how what you're gonna do. So they have a part in it. If you're fee-based, they're paying. If they're not, they aren't. Plus, here's another thing. They're struggling. The last time when I quit, it was the last real water sit down. Some of these are privately owned. Some of them are co-ops, but some of them are privately owned, just like these well fields down here. Corporations own these rural water systems. I don't think any of them in Vandy County, but they do in Smith County, some of them.
There you go.
Would you be willing to help us and people like you that are on these water districts that know the laws, I speak for myself, know a hell of a lot more than me, to talk to these people.
Get on the Texas
Get
Water
that
Development
more
website, they have a lot of information, and you can go to the, yes, there we go. You can
That's
go-
off of the water.
You can also go to the Texas Lounge of Groundwater Districts, and there's information there. And you can contact them, and they will even help you with finding a consultant to help you come in, sit down, and figure out how you want to do it.
Well, it's not how, not
How you want to set it up?
Yeah, and why we should or should not.
Yeah, this is the one I had right here. There's the single county. This is the Nature's Trinity. Right here, right down here is one of those well fields are over in Houston County, some of the wells and oh.
He said
I'm sorry.
I was trying to make it bigger, but it's not gonna work.
Back over here.
That means the meeting's over.
But but there's two white areas. See this white area? There's a little one, but see this white area? And see this white area? You know why this is white?
There ain't no water.
They ain't no groundwater. They don't need a conservation district. Here's the problem, right here. This area is unprotected.
There's a lot of water there.
Yes.
You said our aquifer starts up in Arkansas somewhere?
Yes, yeah, did you pull up that?
So it's fed, so our aquifer's fed by the headwaters are in.
Yeah, in a way, I guess you could say that. We get some recharge here, but how long does it take it to percolate? 4, 5, 600?
15, 20 years, what we told you.
But some of this perch water, in
300.
shallow wells, is that water that catches on a rock layer. And but during a drought, that can go away. So, yeah, it doesn't, it doesn't show it, but Louisiana and Arkansas goes up into here, and it goes all the way down to Mexico.
Starts in the Ozarks.
Yes. It'll recharge faster because it's rocky crevices, just like, here in central Texas, they get some recharges. These other aquifers over here, because that's limestone and there's a lot of fissures and cracks. I saw a report one day where there's one certain area in somewhere around San Antonio, they had like 8 or 9 inches of rain. They said the aquifer came up 5 feet. For that one rain event. But that was able to get there quickly because it goes down in the cracks. But if it's just percolating through the soil, it takes a long time.
Yeah.
Did I tell you about the age of the water? We did a study, the United States Geological Service approached us, this groundwater district over here that I was in. And wanted to do a study and ask us to find in our counties wells, that were within a quarter mile of a producing oil gas well, water wells. So we found them, my 2 counties, this county, that county, and these 3 did it too. And they came in and tested the water, found no hydrocarbons, no cross, anything. But I asked him as a favor to me, I said, we'll help you do this, but I want you to do something for me. I said, what is it? I want you to age my water. They said, okay, but we only go to a certain point because it gets expensive to go way back. The report I got back was that the water that they tested there was at least over 800 years old. So it had been down there that long. This water was down there when all this was all formed.
I like that aged water.
Yeah, well, I wondered why somebody did use that as a marketing thing. You know, bottled water and.
Yeah.
Like whiskey.
Yeah, like whiskey, yeah. There's a whole lot more to this than what we covered today. I didn't want to overwhelm you, but I'll be happy to come back and visit with you anytime,
I'm gonna overwhelm just about January.
whatever you decide to do, so.
All right, thank you so much, Jackie. We appreciate it.
You gonna ask about they need more space, Cliff?
The what?
No, I'm checking with Cliff.
My horse is well beat.
Oh,
Talk to some other counties that have done it. And then look at some of these websites of these groundwater districts, how they're set up. Kind of, see what works, what would work for you up here, if you choose to go that route.
well, we gotta protect ourselves.
You should, like I said, when you asked me earlier if I thought you should, I told you I didn't have an opinion. It's your opinion that counts, so it's whatever.
Well, no, it's yours too, because you're part of it. You live in the county too. Just like his, hers.
Well, to me, it's, when you know the facts, to me, it's a no-brainer, so.
My husband's done water for 30 years, so I know all about it.
There you go. Well, all these things that are no brainers were actually no brainers. We'd be all full up.
All right. I don't know where Scott is. Our meeting is concluded. Thank you again, Jackie. Appreciate it.
Information overload. I can't take any more. I can't pump any more in. I can't pump any more out.
All right. We got one more day of these preliminary budget workshops. That's Monday.
What is it? Who is it?
Right now, we got the DA. It's the only one I've got right now.
I'm not being here. Awesome. We'll be here. Well, might not. We might not.
5,000 gallon out, right?
What he said.
About a 6-inch one.
Well, in a very good octave. I mean, like, 25,000 gallons an hour is a lot of water.
My wells are 6-inch.
I think mine's a 4. 3 or 4.
I think mine was 2.
No, I know commuting.
Mine's a 6,
And if you get,
500 or 592 feet.
yeah, I'll be putting something regular at yours on there.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
25.
we're not drinking you're not drinking your Ace water on this
6-inch
stuff.
line.
Well, I ain't doing 25,000.
Y'all go out of the room so he can turn the video off, but
Is that an order? Oh, you said please, okay. Can we talk around the board?
yeah.